A service of KIBMradio.com, the Internet's home for an all-old-time radio.
This I believe. With a few kind and fatherly words of encouragement, at just the right moment, newspaperman Ward Green has started hundreds of writers and cartoonists on their career. What beliefs have helped him on his own way up? Now, editor and general manager of the huge King Features Syndicate, he gives us some answers.
When a man is 10, he has a boy's faith in almost everything. Even Santa Claus is a belief he is not quite ready to give up. So long as there is a chance, the old gentleman may really live and deliver. When a man is 20, he is closer to complete disillusion and stronger conviction than he will probably ever be in his life. This is the age of atheists and agnostics. It is also the age of martyrs. Jesus Christ must have been a very young man when he died on the cross. Joan of Arc, they say, was only 19 as the flames consumed her. It is in the later years, anywhere from 30 to 50, that a man at some time stands with the tatters of his hopes and dreams fallen from him and asks himself, what indeed do I believe? He is very apt then to cling to the words of other men who have written for him the shadowy signposts that come as close as anything to pointing pathways he found best in the past and roads he will trust on the way ahead. These words may be mere copybook maxims, that honesty is the best policy, or haste makes waste. They may be a line from Shakespeare, to thine own self be true, or from the Bible, all things whatsoever ye would that men should do to you, do ye even so to them, or from the poets, I myself am heaven and hell. They may seem a sort of hodgepodge in a man's mind, yet they can make a pattern, not inconsistent and not weak. So if I believe that I myself am heaven and hell, that anything less than honesty to myself and others is a boomerang on them and me, if my translation of the golden rule is simple acts of kindness and understanding and compassion, practiced in the hope that they will be shown to me, then I have a way of life that is a sort of unselfish selfishness. The bald statement may sound cynical, but if I can follow that way, I shall not be too unhappy here, and I may face death with regret, but an untroubled face and a stout heart. Yet there are blocks and pitfalls in any way of life, even assuming that a man can adhere to it steadfastly, despite his own inclinations to deviate. These obstacles are the work of other men who adhere to other ways. Hence, kindness and compassion are not enough. A man, I believe, must have courage and fortitude and a burning sense of justice, too. There are times we should turn the other cheek, but there are likewise times when we must fight the good fight. When? Well, if a fellow can't find the answer on the signposts or in his heart, I guess he has just got to pray.
That was Ward Jimmy Green, native of Asheville, North Carolina, currently a resident of Rockley, New Jersey, a successful and human author, editor, and playwright.
The Anchor-Hawking Glass Corporation brings you Crime Photographer.
Oh, hello, hello, Casey. I'm sure glad to see you.
Yeah, hi, Ethelbert. Say, what's with Marvin and this me stuff? Huh?
Maybe you can find out. He won't talk.
Huh? Hey, Tony, what goes with you and Herman Chittison and that me noise?
Me. Hey, Herman, will you give me an A now? Me.
First it's me, and then it's give me an A. Well, what's this A business, anyhow?
Why, Casey, A is for Anchor Hocking, the world's largest makers of household glass. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is Tony Marvin. Every week at this time, the Anchor Hocking Glass Corporation of Lancaster, Ohio, and its more than 10,000 employees bring you another adventure of Casey, crime photographer, ace cameraman who covers the crime news of a great city. Written by Alonzo Dean Cole. Our adventure for tonight, The Surprising Corpse. 2 o'clock in the afternoon. The living room of a beautifully furnished penthouse apartment.
Mrs. Daybell.
Yes, Marie?
The Comte de Gaston is here.
Show him in.
Yes, Mrs. Daybell. You may go in, Comte de Gaston.
Henriette, my lovely one.
Hello, Leon.
It was good of you to send for me. I kiss your beautiful hand.
Don't.
Henriette.
Come into the library where we can talk privately.
Very well.
Sit down, Leon.
You are mad at me, Henriette. I can always tell when you are chagrined. It shows in your so lovely eyes.
Yes, well, now that we're alone, Count, suppose you drop the phony accent.
Okay, what's the beef?
I've advanced you almost $40,000.
As you're to get it back with 500% interest, you've made a good investment.
I'm not so sure of that.
Henrietta, this silly bird-brained girl I'm engaged to marry will inherit millions when she's 21, only a year from now. You can't lose. You even took out insurance on my life.
Yes, but only for enough to protect my actual loans to you. You see, Leon, I expect a profit as well, and I won't get that unless you marry Paula Durfee and get your hands on her inheritance.
Don't worry, she's mad about me.
Her uncle, who controls her estate until she's 21, and her brother Arthur are mad at you.
Paula pays no attention to them.
When you drink, you talk too much.
What do you mean?
Several nights ago at the bar of the Yorkshire Club, you told everybody what you really think of Paula Durfee.
Who told you that? I swear.
I have reliable informants in many places, Leon. I watch over my investments, and you're one of them. I've not had a loss so far, and I don't intend to have one in you.
I'm sorry, Henriette. I drink too much, no more.
I don't trust you.
Oh, Henrietta.
And because I don't trust you, I want to liquidate your debt.
Liquidate?
Oh, it'll be to your advantage as well as mine. Would you like to make $100,000 right away? 25% of which goes to me, of course.
Would I?
My plan may strike you as fantastic, Leon, but this Paula Durfee's a little fool. If she weren't, she wouldn't be in love with you and jealous of you.
You're most flattering, Mrs. Zabel.
You've an appointment with Paula today, of course?
At 5 o'clock for cocktails.
Well, don't drink too much before you meet her. And don't tell her this scheme was the idea of anyone but yourself. You must take all the credit.
Go on. Tell me how to get this 100,000.
This is the way, Leon. When you meet Paula, you tell her in your...
Leon, darling, you're not serious about this.
My beautiful Paula, I've never been more serious in my life.
But it's crazy, my sweet. You had too much to drink before you met me.
I have only a few. What is for 5, maybe 6 cocktails?
Where did you have them?
At Luardy's bar.
With some woman?
I am with a man named Casey.
I don't know any Casey.
He's a nobody who takes pictures for the newspapers. I meet him in this cafe. We have a drink together.
But I don't trust you. You've been seen with other women.
Who sees me with other women?
My brother Arthur has seen you, and my uncle.
They tell you this because they do not like me. Paula, chérie, you have proved that I love you madly. That I desire to marry you right away. What I tell you a moment ago is proof of that.
What, that crazy scheme?
It is good scheme. Will you go to your uncle tonight?
I'd never convince him.
You will. Paula, you are a great actress.
What drew me to you when first we meet is the drama in you. I say to myself, there is woman fire with emotion. She is Bernhardt. She is Betty Grable.
You didn't.
Upon my love for you, I did.
Oh, Leon.
Will you go to your uncle in 2 hours from now and tell him?
Would be exciting.
It is perfect plan.
You thought it up?
Certainement. I have a brain.
I'll do it. Uncle Clement should give me enough for us to get married on, even if we have to trick him into it. Tell me the plan again, Leon. All of it, so when I go to Uncle...
My dear, this is astounding. Devastating.
I couldn't help it, Uncle Clement. I couldn't help it.
Paula, I've tried to take care of you since your parents died. I've tried to shield you. I warned you.
I had to do it. And now you've got to protect me, Uncle. You've got to save me.
I will, child. Take me to this place. I'll do what I have to do.
Why are we turning here, Casey?
Annie, won't you ever learn this town? This is a shortcut back to the office.
Oh, you and your shortcuts.
Hey, that car that just passed us, Annie.
What car?
Look at the license number.
Captain Logan, Homicide Squad.
Wait a minute, it's stopping it. He's going to park.
Sure is, in front of that brownstone house.
Look, Logan and Sergeant Flanagan are getting out and fast.
They're here on a job, Casey.
Is that it? Let's see what this is all about.
You and me both.
Come on.
What do you suppose they're here for?
Well, what's the use of supposing? We'll know in a minute. Logan just opened the door and walked in. We'll do the same thing.
He probably won't like this.
Well, so what? We're in that room. Hi, pal.
Casey.
Just happened to be passing by. Thought we'd drop in. Good evening, Sergeant.
Hello, Casey. Miss Williams.
Hi.
Well, what brought you two uncouth characters to this swanky church, huh?
Take a look behind this sofa.
What? Say.
A dead man.
2 gunshots got him through the head.
Hey, that's the Count.
Who?
Well, Count Leon de Gaston is what he called himself. He was engaged to that dumb little glamour girl, Paula Durfee.
Sure. I've seen her with him around the night spot.
This is interesting.
How did it happen, Captain?
I don't know, Miss Williams. I got a phone call at headquarters from a guy who wouldn't give his name. He said a murder had been committed at this address and that we'd find the front door unlocked. He knew what he was talking about.
Look, and his body's still warm.
Yeah.
I'm going to take some pictures of it.
No, not until I call my tech man.
Now, Logan.
You heard me.
Outside door's open. More visitors.
It happened in that room, Uncle.
Now get behind this screen, everybody out of sight.
Show me, Paula.
Paula?
Quiet and keep out of sight.
I can't go in there again, Uncle. I can't.
You must show me where you killed that man.
Oh, please, Uncle Clement.
Show me where and how you shot him.
All right. Leon stood there behind that sofa laughing at me. I took the gun, pointed it at him, and pressed the trigger. Right there is where he stood.
You told me the truth. Where's his body?
No. Oh, no.
We've heard enough. You're under arrest, miss.
I didn't do it. I didn't kill him.
That's not what you said a minute ago.
But I was lying. Leon can't be dead. He just can't be.
Oh, my child.
I think introductions are in order, mister. I'm Captain Logan, Homicide Bureau.
I'm Clement Durfee. This is my niece, Paula.
Oh, Leon can't be dead. He can't be.
It's no use trying to change your story, Miss Durfee.
But what I said was all a lie. I didn't shoot him.
Please.
I didn't. I couldn't. I loved him. The things you heard me say, the story I told my uncle, was Leon's idea.
What did she tell you, Mr. Durfee?
I'd rather not say.
Look, a murder has been committed. You got her.
I'll tell you what I told my uncle, but it wasn't true. I said that I was jealous of Leon, that I came here tonight and shot him, but it was all a lie.
You were jealous of Count de Gaston, weren't you, Miss Durfee? He told me you were, when I was with him this afternoon.
You were with this guy today, Casey?
Mm-hmm, for about an hour at Luardi's bar, and he was getting quite a load on, too.
Well, maybe he told you about the plan he had.
He didn't say anything about a plan.
Go on, Miss Durfee.
All I told my uncle was part of Leon's plan. He said that if Uncle Clement was convinced I'd committed a murder, he'd pay $100,000 to protect me.
Really? How was he to pay the $100,000?
He was to give it to Baxton, Leon's valet. Leon said he'd arranged everything with Batson.
And why was he to give it to this Batson?
Well, because Batson would say he'd been a witness to the murder and that he'd gotten rid of the body. And when Uncle came here, he was to see nothing but some stains on the floor that would look like blood. Leon said he put them here before he went away and hid himself. And I was to get the money from Uncle and pretend to pay Batson for his help and his silence. And then I was to join Leon at his hiding place, and we were going to be married. I don't know who killed him. I don't know.
I've heard some pretty fantastic stories from murderers, Miss Durfee, but yours tops them all.
Oh, Uncle Clement, make him believe me.
My niece told me this man Batson had promised to take the Gaston's body away, Captain.
He obviously didn't take the body away. Sergeant, we want to see Batson. Get out a tracer on him.
Yes, sir.
There's the front door again.
More people come into this house.
What?
I beg pardon.
Who are you?
It's Batson.
Good evening, Miss Durfee.
Batson, tell them what the Count de Gaston told you to do tonight. Tell them.
The Count told me to do nothing tonight, miss.
He did. He must have. He was going to give you instructions.
I haven't seen the Count since early afternoon, Miss Durfee.
You're lying. You're lying.
Really, miss. I say, what's going on here?
Step back of this sofa, Batson. Take a look.
The Count. Good heavens, he's dead.
Yeah.
But who?
This very imaginative young woman did the job.
I didn't.
You'll have a hard time convincing anyone of that, Miss Durfee. Sergeant, phone the squad now and stay in charge here. The rest of us are going to headquarters.
Yes, sir, Captain.
Logan,
Yes, Casey?
that gal's story is so completely cockeyed, it might be true.
Oh, Casey.
Are you nuts?
Maybe. But I'm getting what feels like a hunch.
Only a few years ago, oven glass which could be used for oven baking, was considered an expensive luxury. Anchor Hocking, with its vast laboratory and manufacturing facilities, changed all that by perfecting a new kind of oven glass, more beautiful than anything that had been known before, guaranteed it for 2 years against oven breakage, and offered it at unbelievably low prices. This new kind of glass is Fire King Oven Glass. You can recognize it immediately by its beautiful pale blue color. A special process makes its mirror-smooth surfaces miraculously easy to clean. Its lighter weight makes it easier to handle. If you've never tried oven glass, why not try it now? Ask for it at your favorite chain, variety, hardware, or department store. Fire King Oven Glass is a product of Anchor Hocking. A great name in glass.
Casey, how in the world? Huh? Now, Grace, look. After all... No, not now. Oh, dear, these women. Now, Casey, as I was saying, how in the world can you think that Durfee gal didn't commit the murder?
That's what I'd like to know, too, Ethelbert.
Look, I tell both of you, I've got a hunch.
It's the kind of hunch I'd hate to bet on.
Well, who's asking you to bet on it?
I've noticed that when Casey gets a hunch that a gal's being unjustly treated, Ethelbert, she's usually a very good-looking gal. Paula Durfee hasn't got a brain in her head, but she has got looks.
Oh, don't talk nonsense, Anne.
Hey, Walter!
Bring up some more lemons.
Yeah. Huh?
Annie, listen, I'm telling you, it's because that kid is so brainless that I think that she may have fallen for that crazy plan she says to Gastoni proposed. And then somebody who knew about the plan bumped the guy off, knowing that she'd take the rap for it.
Casey, you haven't got the slightest basis for that.
Oh,
idea.
yes, I have. Yes, I have. That phone call that brought Logan to the Gaston's place.
They ain't been able to trace that call?
No.
Well, a neighbor might have made it, or somebody passing on the street who heard the shots and didn't want to become involved.
Oh, that's possible.
Now,
I doubt
Casey,
it.
the Gaston told you himself that she was madly jealous of him. So tonight she just got too jealous and went bang, bang.
Gaston told me something else this afternoon. As a matter of fact, I'd forgotten it up to now. He'd just come from Mrs. Zabel's place.
Mrs. Zabel?
Yeah.
Did you make that name up?
No. Henrietta Zabel, that's her name.
Who's she?
The hard-boiled dame I know. I wonder.
You wonder what?
Mrs. Zabel always has a few of those fortune-hunting guys around her, guys like the Gaston. I've heard she bankrolls them while they're on the make for gals with dough.
Well, so what?
Well, so I'm going back to headquarters and check a little matter with Logan that I neglected to check before.
Captain Logan's in his office, Casey, but he's busy right now.
Somebody with him, Sarge?
Yeah, the brother of that girl who knocked off the gas tone, Arthur Durfee.
Oh, yeah, that Paula kid's his only sister.
Just two of them, huh?
Yeah. Well, Arthur's about 5 years older than she is, I think. He's another case of too much dough.
Uh-huh.
He got his share of the Durfee millions when he reached 21, and he's been spending it.
He's leaving the office now, Casey.
Yeah.
Good night, Mr. Durfee. I deeply regret the trouble that's come upon you and your uncle and your sister. That you must realize that I have a job to do.
Yes, I realize that, Captain Logan.
I can promise you she'll undergo no unnecessary hardships.
Thank you.
Good night.
Good night, Captain. Tough luck, fella.
Oh, who?
I'm just a newspaper guy. I want you to know that I'm all for your sister. Oh. Well, thank you. Thank you very much.
You want to see me, Casey?
Yeah, Logan, yeah.
Come on in. The toughest thing a cop ever has to do is talk to relatives of a prisoner he's shoving toward the chair.
I can imagine.
What's on your mind, Casey?
Logan, you traced all phone calls to and from the Gastone's home today?
Yeah.
Did the Gastone make a call from his home not long before he was shot?
Yeah, it's here in the report.
Yeah, to whom?
Mrs. Henrietta Zabel.
Mrs. Zabel, huh?
Yeah. Lives in a swanky penthouse over on the boulevard.
Yeah?
She's 100%.
100% what?
Well, okay.
What makes you so sure of that?
Oh, I went over and talked to her myself. She admits the Gastone phoned her. Makes no secret about it. Says they were old friends.
Yeah? What did he call her about?
Yeah, she doesn't know. She was out at the time. The maid answered.
Oh. Where was she out at the time the Gastone was shot?
How do I know? I don't ask everyone I talk to for an alibi when I got the killer in a cell.
I don't think you have the killer in a cell.
Are you going to start that again?
Yes, Logan, I am, and you're going to help me prove that I'm right.
Oh.
Logan, look. Now, I've met this Mrs. Zabel, and she's a foxy character. And de Gastone hadn't enough imagination himself to cook up the scheme that Paula claims she fell for. Well, my hunch says that Mrs. Zabel put him up to it.
Casey, there wasn't any scheme.
But you don't know there wasn't. You've got to give that Durfee kid a chance.
What do you want me to do?
I want Mrs. Zabel watched and her telephone wiretapped.
Hey,
You can do it, Logan. You can do it. And be sure it's done by the time that I visit her tomorrow.
So you're going to visit the lady?
Yeah. I'm going to pull a bluff that I think she'll fall for.
Mrs. Zabel will see you in the library, sir.
Thank you.
Mr. Casey, madam.
Come in.
Thank you, Mrs. Zabel.
Well, I seldom forget a face, Mr. Casey. We've met before, haven't we?
Well, yes, I've taken pictures of you several times for the Cafe Society pages.
Oh, yes, of course.
May I close this door?
If you wish.
Thank you.
Is it customary for press photographers to require such privacy?
Well, I'm not here as a press photographer.
Oh, then what?
I really want to talk to you about Leon de Gastone.
Well?
I spent over an hour with him yesterday at Luardi's Cafe. He'd been drinking and was talkative.
Really?
Yeah. He told me about the idea you'd given him.
Interesting.
I think the cops would find it so if I told them. They might connect it with a phone call the Gastone made to you shortly before he was shot, while you were not at home. They might wonder who phoned headquarters to report the murder of the Gastone, and they might wonder who really killed the Gastone. What do you think?
I wonder why you haven't told this to the cops.
Because you're a rich woman and I'm a poor guy.
Blackmail.
Well, let's say you do me a favor and I do one for you.
Can you suggest any motive I might have had for committing a murder?
I think the cops might be able to dig one up. A motive, perhaps, that would mean a profit for you or prevent a loss. Okay, Mrs. Zabel. Until tomorrow. Logan, you say she made a phone call right after I left her, huh?
Yeah. but not from her own phone that I had a tap on. She went out to a public booth, so my guys don't know what she talked about. We traced the call she made to Clement Durfee's home.
Paula's uncle. So he's her partner in this scheme.
Oh, now, wait a minute.
Look. If you'd just been threatened by a blackmailer who accused you of conniving in a murder that you had connived in, wouldn't your first act be to contact the other party to your killing?
I guess so, but...
Well, Mrs. Zabel fell for my bluff, Logan. Because she framed the scheme that de Gaston and his girlfriend fell for. And she framed it with Clement Durfee.
But why Durfee?
Remember, he handles Paula's estate, Logan. In a year, he'd have to turn it over to her, but with her out of the way...
But why should Mrs. Zabel...
Well, she'll do anything for dough, won't she? And he's paying plenty for what she did. But we'll get them both, Logan. And with the goods. I hooked her today. Tomorrow, when she tries to pay me blackmail, you'll be there to pull her in.
Well, she's a swell-looking woman with a head full of brains, all right.
And that little Paula's a beautiful thing, too.
Excuse me. Homicide Bureau, Captain Logan speaking.
This is Mrs. Zabel, Captain.
Huh? Mrs. Zabel. How do you do?
I'd like to see you as soon as possible, if I may.
Logan, she's all set for a confession.
Shut up. What do you want to see me about, Mrs. Zabel?
Well, I'd like to report the threats of a blackmailer, a press photographer named Casey.
Very interesting, Mrs. Zabel. I'm anxious to hear about it.
Will you come to my home as soon as possible, alone?
Yeah, I'll be there in half an hour.
Then I'll expect you. Goodbye.
You heard that, Casey?
Yeah, I heard it.
You put something over on her. Wise guy.
And that's a full account of the man's clumsy blackmail attempt, Captain Logan.
And a true account.
How do you know it's true?
No, I know this Casey, Mrs. Zabel. I can figure he'd pull things like you said.
Now, I want to tell you something else.
Go on.
That man Casey was right. I did suggest the plan that Paula Durfee told you about.
What?
Yes, I gave it to Leon de Gaston in detail, and I told him to make Paula go through with it.
Well, then...
No, I didn't kill him. Somebody else made dupes of all of us.
Who's that somebody else?
Telling you won't be so convincing as letting you see and hear for yourself.
Now, look here, Mrs. Zabel.
This will be done my way, Captain, or not at all.
Well, let's hear your way.
Can you install a radio contrivance in my car that will permit you in a car following to hear what's said?
Yeah, my man can.
Then have it done at once, and follow me tonight.
Where's she going in that car of hers, Logan?
I told you she wouldn't tell me a thing, Casey, except to follow her, and we're doing that.
Well, she might give us a word occasionally through that radio gadget you had installed in the car.
Now, she's going to play this the way she wants it. Hey, you know, she is a swell-looking woman, Casey.
Yeah.
Not so young as Miss Durfee, of course.
Oh, no, not nearly as young.
But swell-looking.
Swell-looking.
All right. You both agreed that they're both beautiful, gentlemen.
Hey, she's slowing down, Logan. She's going to stop.
I'll slow down, too.
Hey, a man's getting into the car.
Couldn't see his face.
Neither could I.
She's starting up again.
Thanks for picking me up, Henrietta.
That guy's voice.
That radio gadget looks pretty good.
Quiet.
I didn't want you to come to my house.
Yes, in the car here. I'm sure no one can hear us.
Who's the man, Casey?
Can't get his voice.
Neither can I.
So, Henrietta, you think we are under suspicion of murder?
Yes, and I have no intention of facing a murder charge I don't merit.
You suggested that little plan to the Gaston.
Whose plan was it?
Well, since we're quite alone, it was mine.
But you didn't tell me you really planned to murder Leon. I thought you were only helping me recover my money.
Oh, you know my real motive?
Yes. You wanted a murder conviction and death for your sister.
His sister?
It's Arthur Durfee still.
You see, I've spent my share of the estate, but with Paula out of the way, I'd get her share, too. I couldn't allow a little fool like Paula to get that money when I needed it, could I?
You think you'll get away with it?
Oh, you'll never tell anyone.
What?
You think I'd have said what I have if you were going to live?
Step on it, Logan.
And fast.
I'm stepping.
Look at that car behind us.
What? You cut the ignition.
And threw the key out the window.
What a gal.
I'll say, it's all over for him now.
Sure is. Their car's stopping.
Come out of that car, Mr. Arthur Durfee, with your hands in the air.
What's the meaning of this?
We're finishing your perfect plan, fella.
For keeps. And Mrs. Zabel...
Why, Mr. Casey.
I'm going to ask a favor of you. May I kiss you?
Hey.
Excuse me, Annie. Thanks, Mrs. Zabel.
Thank you, Mr.
Well, I like that.
I was just apologizing, Annie, and congratulating Henrietta.
We'll discuss your methods later, Mr. Casey.
It's now possible to tell almost exactly what Americans think on almost any given subject. An independent research organization recently conducted a poll in an eastern city to find out what kind of containers housewives prefer for foods. An overwhelming majority said that they preferred glass containers, and most of them mentioned these 4 reasons. Glass lets you see exactly what you buy before you buy it. Glass containers are clean and sanitary. They don't affect flavor or purity. Glass containers are easier and safer to open and can safely be used to store leftovers. Now, in the same survey, 8 out of 9 mothers of young babies said they preferred prepared baby foods packed in glass. Most of your favorite food products and all of the better brands of prepared baby foods are now available in Anchor glass containers, protected by tamper-proof Anchor vacuum caps. Both products of Anchor Hocking. A great name in glass.
So Arthur Durfee's in the clink, Casey, and his sister's free, huh?
Yep, Ethelbert, yep. And Logan's treating me respectfully for a change.
I don't know why you had this case all wrong.
Even if Mrs. Zabel wasn't guilty, she led us to the murderer, didn't she?
That's right. She did, and you didn't.
Well...
All you did was push your way in for that apologetic, congratulatory kiss at the end.
My emotional nature got the best of me, that's all.
She's a nice-looking woman, that Mrs. Zabel.
She'll never see 45 again.
So what? Age brings experience. No, but experience isn't really necessary.
Casey, what did that young, good-looking Paula do when they let her out of the pokey?
Well...
Oh, yes. Tell him, Mr. Casey.
Ethelbert, she kissed Logan.
And as for you, Ethelbert, what's that on your lips? That looks like...
Me?
Good night, Ethelbert.
Huh? Oh, good night, Grace. Oh, dear, these women.
Crime Photographer, starring Stotts Cotsworth as Casey, is brought to you each Thursday by the Anchor Hocking Glass Corporation, makers of Fire King Oven Glass. Anchor glass containers, Anchor caps and closures. All products of the Anchor Hocking Glass Corporation, a great name in glass. Photographer is directed by John Dietz. The original music is by Archie Blyer, and the program features Miss Leslie Woods as Anne and John Gibson as Ethelbert. Thursday night on CBS is the biggest show in town, so stay tuned for exciting dramatizations on Reader's Digest Radio Edition, which follows immediately over most of these stations. This is Tony Marvin saying goodnight for the Anchor Hocking Glass Corporation, the world's largest makers of household glass. This is CBS, the Columbia Broadcasting System.
This I believe. Warren H. Atherton is a Stockton, California attorney with a record of distinguished service to his country, state, and community. He is a past national commander of the American Legion and served as special consultant to the Secretary of War during World War II. At present, he is active in veteran and civic affairs in and around San Francisco. This is Warren Atherton's creed.
17 years ago, I was kidnapped from San Quentin prison by desperate gunmen. For 3.5 hours, I rode in a convict's lap with a gun pressed into my side. Our car lurched and lunged over steep mountain roads, through giant redwood forests, and along the ocean's rocky shore. Every second I feared that the hot breath of the Khan's rod would blast away my life. As we passed green-clothed Mount Tamalpais, I realized that her head would be held high in the sky forevermore, whether I should live or die. As we passed beneath a mighty redwood, I knew that for 1,000 years each shimmering needle would seek the sun, regardless of the time of my death. As we rode along the ocean's edge, I believed that if I and 1 million more should lose our lives, not a single wave would lose its beat. As a convict was shot dead at my feet, I was aware that no blade of grass was diverted from the process of life. The belief was then born for me, and I believe now, that God is mighty, I a mite. God's works are infinite, man's accomplishments infinitesimal in comparison. I believe that humanity is a team striving toward a divine objective. When we play the game according to the rules of the great captain, we progress in happiness and in accomplishment. When we make our own rules and cheat on those, we are thrown for a loss. Faith is the basic element in The Last Supper by Leonardo da Vinci, in the music of Beethoven, the philosophy of Plato, the poetry of Shakespeare, the writings of Milton, the teachings of Christ, the leadership of Abraham Lincoln. Disbelief was the creed of Hitler, who defied God and who has gone the way of the damned. Stalin denies the Almighty and begets the hate of the civilized world. So-called modern miracles are in fact 99% natural wonders and 1% man's adaptation thereof. Skyscrapers, engines, and battleships are the children of nature's iron. Aeroplanes, automobiles, and streamliners run on the lifeblood of Mother Earth. Electric energy surges from the waterfall, the coal deposit, and the air. Steam is the giant offspring of water and fire. Food is begotten of sun and rain and earth. Wonder drugs emanate from lowly mold. Air which we breathe, blow, heat, cool, and compress, antedates Adam and Eve. Water without which we cannot live can be stored, pumped, disguised, diluted, and dirtied by us, but only falls crystal clear from above. I get peace of mind from the thought that the earth is infinite, that its maker has a plan, and I am part of it. I like to believe that I am on a team, and that if I play the game square, I will be helping to carry the ball toward a goal of common good. I believe there is enough beauty to enjoy, enough happiness to be had, and sustenance for all, if we on the team humbly remember to play according to the laws of Him who created the field, the game, and the players, rather than by rules concocted in the heat of strife for selfish gain.
That was Warren H. Atherton, a man who has built, from an exciting life, a wise, balanced creed.
Crime does not pay.
Yes?
Mr. Powers? Yeah?
Yes, this is Powers.
You will follow instructions as agreed?
Oh, yes. What are they?
You will come to the southwest corner of Jackson and Carter at precisely midnight in your car. You will be met there and you will be given directions. What is the license number of your auto, please?
3Y5989.
Ah, very, very, very good. Now, one more matter. You will have with you the agreed amount of money in small unmarked bills. You understand, of course, in a transaction such as this, we cannot accept your check.
In the interest of good citizenship and law enforcement, we present Crime Does Not Pay, based on the famous Metro-Goldwyn-Mayer series of short subjects. In just a moment, you'll hear Imported Headache, starring Joseph Buloff. Now, Crime Does Not Pay, starring Joseph Buloff as Walter Dryden in Imported Headache. Most crimes are a cross between a jigsaw puzzle and a piece of tangled cord. The criminal must fit all the pieces of his crime together in the planning period, and the police must untangle the skein of cord from whatever single loose end they may discover. The perfect example of this is Walter Dryden, a German of Nazi extraction, one might say. Walter was thorough in his planning, perhaps a little too thorough for the tastes of his hoodlum assistants, Harry Soapsmith and Bob Lake.
All right, Harry. Stop here.
Okay, you say so, boss.
I have thought so. Ain't nothing around here but an empty road, boss. I will do the defending. You will execute. That is the arrangement.
Sure. Okay, but maybe we'd like to know how this fits together.
Yeah.
First, we all go to drugstores and buy 10-cent bottles of aspirin. Then you send Jersey to swipe a couple of cops' uniforms from a costume place. What's aspirin got to do with cops' outfits?
Yeah, I don't get it either, boss. Tonight we hijack a truck. I mean,
it is not necessary for you to know. The less you know, the better.
Well, you could tell us something, boss.
Very, very well, then. I will tell you this much. I'm subject to headaches, so you buy for me the aspirin. And I think Dr. Jesse will be very handsome policeman. As for the truck, I have a deal in mind. To do this business, a truck is necessary, so we take one. In fact, we take the one now coming around the curve. Americans own too many trucks. So now one American will own one less truck. And we will make money. Money, Harry. Block the road.
Right.
What if he don't see us? He sees us. He stops now. Harry, stay at the wheel. Captain, I will take care of this. I understand, Buck, you have had some experience driving trucks.
Yeah, I used to. Hey, get that tire tilapia out of the road.
We cannot for the moment. You will be patient, please.
You want a hand, shover?
Aha! It will be a pleasure to accept your assistance.
Okay. What's the matter? The engine got dead on you?
Well, that engine's okay. It sounds like a watch.
All right, Bob. As you say. Nothing.
Hey, what's the matter?
There we are. Excellent. Now then, push this so powerful young American into the ditch. On his face, I would prefer to...
You know, boss, sometimes I think you rub it in just a little bit too much.
You think? With what? Now then, Buck, you will drive the truck. I will ride with Harry. You will follow us at approximately 40 yards and will follow the signals on the back of the car for turns. Now we have a truck. We have aspirin and we have uniforms. We are ready. From now on, you will see why they call me Walter Einstein Dryden. 1, 2, 3, and we will have money. Money, Harry.
Handle that for me, Miss Gold. And have the shipping room check the orders from Golden Drugs and Madsen Stores. Now then, Mr. Dryden.
We have a proposition, Mr. Powers. A proposition dealing with aspirin. Excellent aspirin. Direct from the manufacturer in Germany.
No. Real German aspirin?
Made by the original manufacturer. Now back in business.
Import duty on that stuff's pretty high.
There has been no duty paid on this shipment. You see, I have connections in Germany.
Well, then how did you get it in... Oh, I understand. I'm not sure I care to do business with you, Mr. Dryden.
No one except the three of us and the driver of my truck needs to know that this shipment was duty-free.
Keep talking, Mr. Dryden.
You will have quite a shipment for your regular customers at a cost to you of approximately 30 cents on the dollar.
How do I know the product is certified pure?
A sample, Mr. Powers.
The label's authentic enough. The contents?
Will stand analysis, Mr. Powers.
All right. As long as the stuff is pure, why not? I'll buy as much as you have.
A truckload, Mr. Powers.
A trailer truck, sir. Well, now, that's a lot of aspirin. What's the price?
I will notify you when the shipment is ready. You will, of course, accept my inventory.
I have to, I guess.
Very, very well. In a few days, I will call you, and at that time, I will advise you where delivery will be made and how much the shipment will cost you.
Yes?
Mr. Powers? Yeah?
This is Powers.
You will follow instructions as agreed?
Oh, yes. What are they?
You will come to the southwest corner of Jackson and Carter at precisely midnight in your car. You will be met there and you will be given directions. What is the license number of your auto, please?
3Y5989.
Ah, very, very well. One more matter, please. You will have the agreed amount of money in small unmarked bills. You understand, of course, in a transaction such as this, we cannot accept your check.
Yes, I understand. One thing, we haven't yet agreed on how much. You said that...
Yes. Excuse me, of course. The price is $5,000.
That's a lot of aspirin.
I'm given to understand Americans have a lot of headaches.
Mr. Powers, good evening. Or is it good morning, to be precise?
Morning, driver. Your associate takes no chances. He blindfolded me at Carter and Jackson, wouldn't let me take the darn thing off until we were just outside this place.
Harry is very thorough.
Yes.
You learned that from me. But Harry, you did not make Mr. Powers any more uncomfortable. That was absolutely necessary.
Oh, no, boss. Of course not.
Very good, very good. My apologies for any inconveniences, Mr. Powers. But these precautions are necessary. You see, there have been cases of men reneging on a transaction and causing much trouble.
Don't worry about that. I'm in this almost as deeply as you are.
Oh, yes, that is so.
This is the truck?
A large one, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Full load?
You doubt it? Harry, open the truck.
Right, boss.
Well, now, look, you don't have to go to all this trouble for me.
My word has been doubted. Now you must have proof.
It's open, boss.
Select a carton, Harry. Any carton.
You've sure got it packed to the roof.
How's this one, boss?
Very good. Open the carton.
Check.
I don't see any custom house stamps on this carton, Reverend.
No? But you will see inside the carton. Well, so?
That's the stuff, all right.
Very well, then. Harry, put back the carton and close the truck.
Check, boss.
And now, Powers, the money, if you please.
Here? Why not at my warehouse?
I deliver to you here. I accept no responsibility for delivery, except to permit my man to drive the truck. I must be paid now.
All right. If you insist.
I insist.
Here you are. 5,000. Nothing larger than a 20.
Thank you, Mr. Powers.
Don't you want to count it?
I take your word, Mr. Powers. Come. Harry will drive. We will follow in your car.
Well, now, don't you want the address of my warehouse?
But we know that already, Mr. Powers.
Oh.
Walter Dryden is very thorough. He always knows all about his customers before he begins to do the business with them. Your American roads are efficient, Mr. Powers. Not, of course, as well planned as our Autobahn, but efficient nevertheless.
As an exponent of the nation where efficiency is a household god, I'll take that as a compliment, Dryden.
You may say so. Quick. The brakes. The truck is slowing down.
What's going on up there?
Patience, Mr. Powers. No doubt we shall know it in a moment.
Oh, why should we have to stop on this road at this hour? In our headlights. Dryden, those are cops. Come on.
Hurry up now. Make it snappy. Let's see what's in that truck.
Okay, officer. Going as fast as I can. I ain't no machine, you know.
Little tongue in your head, you understand?
Yes, sir. Yes.
Officer, what's the meaning of this? Who are you? That's my car.
Open carton here. Aspirin, imported. No custom house stamp. This is the load, Joe.
What load, if I may ask, officer?
These roads have all been posted. We're watching for a load of smuggled aspirin. And this is it. You'll have to come with us, all of you.
Now, tell me, officers, is it possible there might be some way to, well, smooth this small difficulty?
What are you driving at, Bob?
One truck more or less. Who would know?
Sounds like it's tempting to bribe an officer to me.
Dryden, please, perhaps we better not do leave this to me. How much more money do we have on you? About 1,000. Maybe a little more.
Very well. Gentlemen, if I may suggest it, a wallet found on the road with say, $2,000 in it. Just found there, over there. After we have driven off. This could not be construed as a bribe.
Well, could be. Yeah. Could be.
Thank you, gentlemen. Close up the van, Harry. Drive on slowly. Mr. Powers, I will put up 1,000 if you will. No further trouble.
Well, if I have any trouble, I could lose my license. Okay. But there's mine.
And mine. In this wallet. And so on the road. Let us go, Mr. Powers, before these fine gentlemen change their minds.
Best $1,000 I ever spent in my life.
How'd you like that, Bob? Slick that guy Wallace. Slick as oil.
And that sucker Powers. Yikes, Jesse, but he's been thinking beautiful. $6,000 for a phony bribe and a stolen truck. A stolen truck loaded with 1 carton of drugstore-bought aspirin and the rest empty as a sucker's in. Jesse, my boy, I'd wear a cop's outfit for Walter Dryden any day for what's going to be our share of this little job.
In just a moment, Crime Does Not Pay will continue with Imported Headache. Now we continue with Crime Does Not Pay, starring Joseph Buloff as Walter Dryden in Imported Headache. The jigsaw puzzle was complete. 1 truck, 1 carton of aspirin, 1 buyer eager for a special bargain, 2 imitation policemen. Total take $6,000. There was great glee at Walter Dryden's headquarters later that eventful morning.
Hey, fellas, do I make a good cop or do I make a good cop? Keep a civil tongue in your head, Bob.
All right, men. Now, this serious business. Our first split, as you say in America.
And what do they say in Dutchland, boy?
In the fatherland, we do not waste time on idle laughter. Now then, I have here $6,000 in American money.
That much he likes about America.
Now, enough of this nonsense. As agreed, I receive half. The remainder is divided equally among the three of you. Therefore, 3,000 to me, 1,000 to each of you.
Hey, thanks, sport.
Yeah, thanks.
Me too. That's the easiest grant I ever picked up in my life.
Yeah, easy. Maybe too easy. How so, Harry?
Well, suppose his Powers character talks.
The good Mr. Powers will not talk. Americans never admit they're suckers.
If they get mad enough?
Nonsense. After all, what did he get for his $6,000? 1 stone truck? 1 carton of aspirin? 1 release from imitation policemen? No. Our good friend will not talk.
Look, Mr. Powers, you don't seem to realize the position you're in.
All I know, Lieutenant, is that I bought something. I didn't get what I paid for, but I did have a valuable experience, period.
I think you'd better talk, Mr. Powers.
Lieutenant Collister, I don't think I like your tone.
You like our jail even less.
On what charge?
Possession of a stolen truck and a pinch theft of that truck. Your arrest won't help your reputation any, and we can prove possession of that truck. Possession of stolen goods, in other words. So let's stop kidding, Powers. You have a duty as a citizen, and you're going to do that duty.
Nobody likes to admit he's been a fool, Lieutenant.
Not even to catch the man who made a fool of him?
Walter Dryburn has disappeared. Vanished.
Dryburn. Sounds German.
Yes, plenty. Saber scar and all. Acts and talks like a real Nazi.
About 5'10", broad shoulders, brown hair and blue eyes. Behaves like a Prussian officer.
Yes, that's a good description.
Several agencies are interested in him, including the Immigration Service.
Illegal entry?
We have reason to believe so.
This is a big country, Lieutenant. You'll never find him.
Won't we? Look, Powers, you've finally given us an end of the cord. We've a neat mess to untangle, but with patience, I think we'll get him.
Yeah?
May I speak to Walter Dryburn, please?
Who wants him?
David Carr of Carr & Sons, Wholesale Drugs.
I'll see if he's here. Hey, boss. Carr of Carr & Sons wants to talk to you.
Ah, so a bit concerned. I will talk. Walter Dryburn here? How do you do, Mr. Carr?
Well, thank you. Mr. Dryburn, I understand you have a lot of aspirin.
I'm subject to habits, Mr. Carr.
Aspirin for sale cheap.
How would you know that?
It's my business to know things like this.
Ah, I see. And you would like to engage in a transaction with me?
If the price is right, yes. Then the product. We're a very reputable concern, Mr. Dryburn.
I know. I've heard of you.
Will you be good enough to call on us with a sample?
I shall be delighted, Mr. Carr. Tomorrow, let us say, at 11 o'clock.
I'll be expecting you. Goodbye.
Goodbye, Mr. Carr. The fish are biting.
What you use for bait?
Ah, let it be known in certain quarters that bargains are, shall we say, obtainable at a price. Well, now, let us start our proceedings. It will be necessary, as usual, to find a suitable truck.
Carr speaking.
Driving here. Tomorrow night.
What time? Where?
Midnight. Seaforth and West Fillmore.
Very well.
And have the money with you in small unmarked bills. Understand?
So this is your warehouse, Dryburn.
And this is the truck, Mr. Carr. Packed completely, floor to roof, with the products you're paying for.
May I see some of it, please?
Oh, Harry, open a carton for Mr. Carr.
Check.
Harry is the driver of the truck.
He will precede us to your warehouse.
There you are, Mr. Carr. Genuine imported aspirin.
So I see. All right, Dryden, let's get going. Dryden, I must admit I admire your enterprise.
Thank you, Mr. Carr.
For some reason, I have the impression that you haven't been in our country very long.
No, not too long.
You certainly have caught on to our ways, or seem to have.
It is an ancient expression. Do as the Romans. To which I add, America is the land of golden opportunity. Quite golden,
For all of us in a deal like this.
You do so.
I suppose it's none of my business, but I would like to know. How did you happen to come to America?
Mr. Carr, when one sees opportunity die in one's fatherland, one seeks success in other places. I came here. There was a small, as you say, nest egg, which I successfully had placed here before the war against just such a contingency. Quite simple.
My admiration increases as you speak. Go on.
As for my entry through the golden portals, that was accomplished. Now let us leave it at that.
In other words, it's none of my business.
Slow down, Mr. Carr. Harry's flashing lights on the truck.
So I notice. Something wrong up there?
Perhaps an accident along the road. It is well to stop for such things.
You'll know before very long. All right, Bob, open up the truck. We want to see what you got in there.
Okay, officer, of course.
Smoke, cop. Let's see what's up, Dryden.
Yeah, this is the stuff, all right. Yeah, aspirin and no custom house stamp. These fellas with you, Bob?
Look, I just drive a truck. I don't ask no questions. I'm working for him.
Which one of you owns this truck?
I do, officer.
All right, let's see the registration.
Don't you think, gentlemen, we can talk this over?
Yes, all you gentlemen will remain where you are. And the headlights of my car and Lieutenant Collister's.
The sucker's got a gun.
Hey, he's no sucker. He's a cop.
Work are all four of right, Lieutenant, including our Nazi friend here with his contempt for the efficiency of America.
Oh, a government spy. A trap.
Why not? You should know about these things, Dryden, known as Alex Tribal, wanted for war crime. No doubt about him, Collister. That saber scar would mark him any place.
Hey, boss, were you a Nazi?
This surprises you, Harry.
Hey, look, Lieutenant, Mr. Carr, me and Bob and Jersey, we don't know anything except about the aspirin.
We'll sing, Lieutenant. We'll give you the works.
Thanks, boys, but Investigator Matson here of the Immigration Service has plenty on your boss. Plenty. Mind if I take him directly, Lieutenant? Not at all. Well, then, with due thanks to your Detective Carr, Walter Dryden, alias Alex Tribal, you're under federal arrest, charged with illegal entry into the United States.
I do not think you get me. I do not think at all. First, you will capture me.
What's the hoodlum, Maxon? He wants the truck. All right, you three. Down. Lie down fast. Okay. No hurry, Collister. Watch. Truck starts slowly, Collister, but a bullet in the tire will ruin him every time. All right, let's dig him out of that cab, shall we? I doubt if he's hurt very much. And maybe that's too bad as far as Mr. Nazi Dryden is concerned.
Fine does not pay. Joseph Buloff, who was starred as Walter Dryden in Imported Headache, will be back with you in just a moment. Now here in person is Joseph Buloff. Criminals like Walter Dryden operate their schemes on 2 points. They believe first that all Americans are ashamed to admit when they have been taken. Second, that most of us give in very easily to the temptation of an easy dollar, even though the business involved may be somewhat on the shady side. In fact, the success of much of our organized crime is based on exactly the same ideas. It follows, then, that when we ourselves wake up and cease to aid and abet this kind of criminal, however unconsciously we may be doing so now,
we will have taken a long step toward removing the profit from crime of all kinds. It is up to us ourselves to make sure that at all times, in all ways, crime does not pay.
Thank you, Mr. Buloff. Crime Does Not Pay is written by Ira Marion and directed by Mark B. Loeb, with music composed and conducted by John Garth. Technical advisor is Burton B. Turkis. The events, characters, and names used in the story you've just heard are fictitious. Any similarity is purely coincidental.
This I believe. Wilfred F. Long is a St. Louis businessman. He went to work in the S.N. Long warehouses after college, at first doing general clerical work and learning the business. The company was founded by his grandfather and is one of the oldest merchandise warehouses in St. Louis. For the past 20 years, Mr. Long has been its president. He has been active in various business and civic organizations, and for many years has been an executive of the American Warehousemen's Association. Here now is Wilfred Long.
In these days of doubt and anxiety, I have heard people say, I just don't know what I believe anymore. I'm confused and troubled and don't know what to believe. I think that doesn't have to be true. I think so because I believe in fundamentals. I believe in a just God, the true dignity of man, and in doing for opportunity as opposed to getting for security. I say that I believe in fundamentals, and I do, sincerely. I believe in a spiritual consciousness, without which I feel I'd be lost, but with which I feel I have a chance, and a good one. I believe, too, that the general pattern of things doesn't just happen by accident. There has to be a reason for it. I came to this conclusion very early in life, and I have no doubt that a childhood experience had much to do with it. We frequently had the preacher for Sunday dinner at our house. He liked fried chicken, and I did too, so that made us fast friends. One Sunday, after a particularly good dinner, the preacher leaned back in his chair, looked at me, and said, "Sit an atheist down to a fine dinner, and then ask him if he believes there is a cook." I don't know whether it was original with him or whether he read it somewhere, but I've never forgotten it. I believe in the fundamental of naturalness, of being oneself and not trying to impress the Joneses. I have great respect for the person who says what he means and acts as he thinks. I know I can depend upon that person. Admiring the trait in others and having seen tangible evidence that it works, I have tried to pattern my own actions accordingly. I believe in proper evaluation, particularly self-evaluation, in striving for the ability to judge between the true and the false. Deliver me from the man who takes himself too seriously. After all, I am only one man, and the world doesn't actually rest upon my shoulders. I believe it's better to let your hair down occasionally and get rid of some of that pent-up importance. I have found a little solid self-analysis at intervals does me a lot of good. It keeps me from lapsing into any semblance of smug satisfaction, which sometimes might creep in, following an occurrence which I think I may have handled pretty well. I like to recall what Diogenes said to Alexander the Great, when the latter asked the Greek philosopher why he was looking so intently at a large collection of human bones. "I am searching," said Diogenes, "for the bones of your father, but I cannot distinguish them from those of his slaves." I believe in the fundamental of grassroots adherence to the original concepts that made this country great. I want to be sure that I don't trade my heritage of opportunity and earned bread for a mess of golden, protected security, only to find that the substance was fool's gold, and the protection turned out to be a chained and controlled vehicle from which it is impossible to climb. My father, who was the finest man I've ever known, used to tell me that one of life's most important achievements was to be a doer instead of a getter, and that the reward would take care of itself. This I believe.
That was Wilfred F. Long, president of the S.N. Long Warehouses, Incorporated, in St. Louis, Missouri.
Calling all detectives. Valuable possessions can get lost in all sorts of ways. But when they're lost on purpose, somebody generally calls in a detective. That is the situation on this page from my casebook. The casebook of Jerry Browning, private detective. Once in a blue moon, I, Jerry Browning, private detective, get a real jewel of a case. The buzzer sounded, and Titus Wolfe, secretary to Vincent DeWitt, nodded toward the heavy oak door.
Mr. DeWitt will see you now, Mr. Browning.
In his private office, Vincent DeWitt was sitting behind a half-acre of desk.
Sorry to have kept you waiting, Mr. Browning, but this situation came up unexpectedly, and I've had to rearrange all my appointments to get you in.
I nodded, sat down. What's the trouble, sir? DeWitt put his fingertips together.
It's rather confidential, Browning. My wife, Betsy, a wonderful woman, wonderful, but, well, flighty. Loves to gamble, bridge, poker, occasional flyer on the stock market.
She in a jam with some professional gambler? DeWitt looked shocked.
Dear me, hope not. Oh, it's possible. Betsy has lost her diamond bracelet. At least she says it's lost. My own opinion is that she has sold or pawned it to cover her losses.
Is the bracelet insured, Mr. DeWitt?
Yes, it is. And I have no desire to defraud an insurance company. Your task, therefore, is to recover the bracelet as quietly as possible. If you do, in addition to your daily fee, I will pay you a bonus of $1,000. However, under no circumstances are you to question my wife.
When a man hired me to recover his wife's diamond bracelet, I learned that he suspected her of having sold it to pay gambling debts. Armed with a description of the bracelet, I started to make the long, weary round of pawn shops. Turned up absolutely nothing. I was sure Mrs. DeWitt wouldn't risk selling the bracelet to one of the big jewelry firms that would insist on identification, so I turned next to the fences.
No, I ain't seen the ice, Jerry. An insurance guy was around asking about this morning, and you know what? He says that maybe a dame will be trying to peddle the stones.
I gulped, grinned weakly. These insurance investigators are a suspicious bunch. Now, look, spread the word. If the ice turns up, and I hear about it first, there'll be a little extra in it for the boys.
Yeah, I get it, Jerry.
So the insurance company also had the idea that Mrs. DeWitt might have engineered the loss of a bracelet. And when an insurance company gets an idea, it doesn't easily drop it. All of which meant that I had to work fast. DeWitt had forbidden me to question his wife, but he didn't say anything about staying away from his wife's broker. The broker's name was Henry J. Drayton, junior partner in one of the best brokerage houses in town. Yes, Mrs. DeWitt has an account with us. Has she lost a lot? Drayton smiled. Well, normally that's a question I would not answer, Mr. Browning, but because of the nature of your investigation, I will tell you. Mrs. DeWitt gives the impression of being impractical, that actually she is an astute trader and has made some interesting profits, upward of $5,000 after taxes. She's making money? Exactly. She plans to buy her husband a gift with her profits and to demonstrate that she is much more able than he gives her credit for being. Thanks, Mr. Drayton. Thanks a lot. At this point, I was just about ready to give up. Mrs. DeWitt was flighty, only she wasn't. She'd stolen and sold her own bracelet, only she didn't need the money. Maybe the bracelet really was lost. I decided to visit the insurance company. William Hanson was the claim adjuster assigned to the case. Frankly, Browning, we don't know what to think about this missing bracelet business. This isn't the first time Mrs. DeWitt has reported some of her jewelry as being missing. That's news to me. Did you pay previous claims? Hanson shook his head. On each of the 2 previous occasions, the missing jewels were recovered just as we were on the point of making payment. Then what are you complaining about? If you don't want Mrs. DeWitt's insurance business because she's careless, that's one thing. But that's no reason to go around town checking on whether she sold the stuff herself. Hanson looked at me thoughtfully. How do you know what we've been doing, Browning? Unless you've been doing the same thing yourself. I had to cover fast. I know a lot of people, and the word has been coming back to me. What's more, I don't mind telling you that Mr. DeWitt resents it and may do something about it. It was Hanson's turn to look unhappy. He mumbled something about routine search, finally admitted, "We haven't recovered any reason why Mrs. DeWitt might have stolen her own bracelet, so we'll honor this claim and then cancel the policy." Hanson answered the phone, listened for a few moments. "Under the papers in your own office, Mr. DeWitt? Well, that's fine. I'll mark the case closed." Hanson turned back to me. "The bracelet's been found, Browning. DeWitt's secretary, Titus Wolf, found it buried under some papers where Mrs. DeWitt must have dropped it. DeWitt says he's giving Wolf a big bonus." "That's the bonus I was figuring on." "Well, see you again sometime." I went back to my client, told him what I'd learned about his wife.
"You say Betsy intends to buy me a gift for the stock market earnings? Well, well."
He opened his desk drawer, brought out the bracelet that had caused all the excitement.
"I think I'll surprise her, too. As your last job for me, Brownie, take this to a good jeweler. Have him make up diamond earrings to match."
I took the bracelet to Carnet, the custom jeweler, told him what was wanted.
"I'm sorry, Mr. Browning. This setting is platinum, but the stones are zircons, and we don't deal in that."
"Did you say zircons? Give me that bracelet." I drove back to DeWitt's office, got there just in time for a nice little scene. DeWitt giving his faithful secretary, Titus Wolf, a big, fat check. I grabbed the check and... "Okay, Wolf, your racket is finished. What did you do with the diamond from the bracelet?" He talked after a while, and I discovered that in each of the 2 previous jewel losses, Wolf was the one who found the missing piece. What he really did was steal the jewelry, remove the real diamonds, and substitute zircons. Then after a while, he'd pretend to find the jewel and get a fat reward as well as the stones. Well, he's still playing around with rocks these days, but they're on a rock pile. Like I said, a case may seem all confused at the beginning, but if you uncover enough stones, the guilty person always winds up with the bracelets. Listen next time to Calling All Detectives. Mystery drama, mystery quiz, and a chance for you to match wits with yours truly, Jerry Browning, Private Detective.
Murder at midnight.
Good evening.
What? Who are you?
I beg your pardon?
I said, who are you? What are you doing here?
My name is Gabriel. I am butler to the Holloways.
Gabriel? But you can't be. Well, you're dead.
Midnight, the witching hour when the night is darkest, our fears the strongest, and our strength at its lowest ebb. Midnight, when the graves gape open and death strikes. How? You'll learn the answer in just a minute in The House That Time Forgot.
And now, Murder at Midnight. Tales of mystery and terror by radio's masters of the macabre. Our story by Sigmund Miller is The House That Time Forgot.
Early evening on a desolate part of the Virginia coast. Along a road near the beach comes a car with two people in it.
I guess we've done enough looking for today, Eva.
Oh, it's really beautiful country around here, dear. Wild and lovely.
Mm-hmm.
Darling, if we can't find a house, perhaps we should buy some land and build.
Well, we'd better start back to town. It's getting dark, and I think we're in for a storm.
Oh, look, Fred.
Hmm?
Look at that house we're coming to.
Huh.
Oh, now, isn't it a beauty?
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm. Nobody that owns that one would want to sell it.
Drive slowly, dear. I'd like to take a good look at it.
All right.
Oh, there's a for sale sign.
Yeah?
This house for sale. See Mr. Cecil Smith, Westfield, Virginia.
Oh, that's interesting.
Well, let's drive in, dear, into the grounds.
We can come back tomorrow, Eva. It's really starting to blow up.
But it'll only take a minute. I've just got to have a close look.
All right, but we're going to get caught in the rain. I'll back in to save time. Well, watch the fenders on that side.
All right, dear, I would. Come ahead.
Am I clear?
Okay, you're all right. Fine. Ah, there's a light in one of the gable windows.
I guess somebody's home.
Beautiful, Fred. Simply magnificent.
The grounds look a little neglected, though.
Grounds, who cares about that? Go ahead and knock.
Okay. I wish they'd hurry. We're going to get caught in a storm.
Oh, don't worry about it. They don't seem to answer, do they? Try knocking again.
It's odd. Must be somebody home. We saw a light in the window.
Maybe they can't hear us. Let's try calling them.
Oh. Hello there. Hello?
That's very strange.
Yeah,
What?
I hear something. Listen.
It's a clock striking.
Now, let's try the door. It's not locked. What do you think?
Let's go in. It's a big place, but lovely.
Wait a minute, dear. Anybody home?
Well, if there is, they can't hear us or don't want to.
Come on, dear. We'll come back tomorrow.
Place needs fixing up, but it's worth fixing. Shall we take it?
Well, I don't know, Eva. We'll talk to the agent in Westfield, and then, well, we'll see.
So you're interested in buying the Holloway house?
Yes, Mr. Smith.
It's just the kind of house we've been looking for.
It's a fine place, all right. Even got a private inlet to moor a large-sized boat. It's got everything except...
Except what, sir?
Well, it's only fair that I tell you all its defects.
What defects, Mr. Smith?
Well, you see, Mrs. Jordan, it's kind of hard to put your finger on it. There's something very queer about the house.
Huh? Oh. You mean it's haunted?
Well, I don't know exactly, Mr. Jordan. No one has seen a ghost there yet.
Well, we don't mind ghosts, do we, Fred?
No, we don't believe in them.
Well, I didn't say it was haunted, but, well, people say that the house is alive, that it has a life and a will of its own.
A life? Well, I don't know what you mean.
Well, I've had 4 caretakers in the Holloway house since I took possession of it, and none of them stayed more than a few days.
Well, why did they quit?
I don't know. They didn't see any ghosts or apparitions, but they all felt the same way, that the house was alive. Every one of them.
Oh, well, there must have been something that scared them away.
Well, I'd better tell you the whole story.
Yes, we'd like to hear it.
Please do.
Now, the house originally belonged to Richard Holloway.
Hmm?
7 years ago, in 1939, Richard and his wife, Diana, went on a short cruise in their yacht, the Viking II.
That's an interesting name, isn't it?
They never came back.
Oh?
They had 2 friends visiting them who refused to go with them. The strangest part about it is that these friends warned them that they'd never return alive from the cruise. The Holloways laughed at them.
Oh, well, how did they know, these friends, that the Holloways wouldn't come back?
I don't know. Nobody knows.
Well, did you talk to these friends?
No, I never saw them. I only know about it through John Gabriel. He was the Holloway's butler.
Oh.
Been dead for 2 years now. As a matter of fact, even Gabriel didn't know these friends. He'd never seen them before. It's a mystery that I've thought about for years. I'm afraid it's going to be a mystery forever.
Very interesting, but we'd still like to buy the house.
Mr. Smith, there was a light shining in one of the windows when we were there yesterday. We also heard a clock chiming.
That's funny. No one's been inside that house in over a year.
Oh? Eva, perhaps we ought to think this over.
Oh,
huh?
nonsense, darling. You're not going to let some old wives' tale bother you, are you?
No. But how could a clock still be going if no one's been in that house for a year?
Well, there's a light buoy not far from the house. You might have mistaken it for the clock.
Now, you see, everything has a logical explanation.
Yeah, what about the light in the window?
Well, it was probably a reflection from the sun or something. We'd like to take the house, Mr. Smith.
Well, if you wanted, I'd be glad to sell it to you. I just thought it fair to tell you all about it, so if anything happens, you can't blame me.
Well, here we are, darling. Our house.
I hope we'll like it.
Oh, of course we will. Let's go in.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have the key, dear?
Yes, but we don't need it. The door was open, remember?
Oh, yes, that's right.
Hey.
It's locked again.
Oh, Mr. Smith must have locked it. There we go. There you go, dear.
Well, look. Darling, everything clean. Dusted. Why, it's spotless. Oh, now, Mr. Smith really is a dear.
Hey, it looks lived in, doesn't it?
I told you we'd like it.
I suppose. You also put flowers around.
Yes, it does smell of flowers, roses. But let's look around. Bright-looking kitchen, isn't it, Fred?
Yeah.
And this wonderful big refrigerator.
And it's full of food.
No.
Fresh food. Yeah.
Oh, that Mr. Smith, why, he thought of everything. Oh, the bedroom is even bigger than I thought.
Look at the beds.
What?
Someone has slept in them.
That man Mr. Smith sent to clean the house must have slept in it.
Yes, and he apparently slept in both beds.
This library. Darling, look at that paneling.
Yeah, it's a very lovely room. Everything is charming.
But what?
Look at the fireplace.
Well, what's wrong with the fireplace? There's just some half-burnt logs in it.
Yes, just some half-burnt logs. Still smoldering.
Well, it was the cleaning man.
I don't think there was a cleaning man.
Now, don't be absurd, Fred.
The clock we heard the first time we were here. Eva, I just can't shake off the feeling that someone is still living here.
You're being ridiculous.
Well, maybe I am, but I feel like an intruder.
Darling, it's that story Mr. Smith told us about the Holloways and their mysterious friends. It's got you all keyed up.
Yeah, well, I'm going to call Mr. Smith and find out about that cleaning man you think he sent here. Operator. Oh, operator, give me Westfield 403.
You're really being a pusspot, Fred.
Yeah, we'll see. I'll tell you. Oh, hello, Mr. Smith?
Yes?
This is Fred Jordan.
Oh, hello, Mr. Jordan. How's everything up at Holloway?
Oh, everything seems fine. Thanks for having the house cleaned up.
Cleaned up? I don't understand you.
Didn't you send a cleaning man to straighten up the house?
No, Mr. Jordan. The house was sold as is. I never sent anyone over.
Might interest you to know we found the house in a spotless condition. Cleaned and ready for occupancy.
Oh.
Thank you, Mr. Smith. I'll be in touch with you later.
Such a lovely night, darling. I'm glad we came out.
We'd better go back to the house.
Oh, now, please don't be upset. There must be some logical explanation. Maybe somebody took advantage of a boarded-up house and was living in it rent-free.
I'd like to correct you, dear. Someone is still living in it besides ourselves.
Sometimes, Fred, you get very ridiculous.
Maybe. Let's go back inside. Look.
What?
There's a fire burning in the fireplace.
Well, now, what's wrong with that?
I haven't touched this fireplace since we got here.
You didn't?
Look. The table is set for tea. Did you do this?
No, I didn't.
Ooh, Teapot is hot.
Somebody must be here, hiding.
If they are, I'll find them. Come on.
I don't understand it. I just...
Cellar to attic, and there's no one here.
But it's incredible.
Someone is living here, and we can't see them.
It doesn't make sense.
There's somebody here right now. Right in this room. It sounds crazy, but I know it.
Fred.
What?
The clock.
What about it?
It just struck midnight, and it's only 10 o'clock.
A house that is deserted, except for invisible tenants, and a clock that is running backwards. Has it just struck 12 for...
Murder at midnight. And now, back to Murder at Midnight and The House That Time Forgot.
Fred. Fred, wake up.
Huh?
Get up.
Huh? What is it, dear? What's the matter?
Look out there, out the window.
Why?
Get up and take a look.
Oh. That what? That boat out there in the inlet? It must have put in while we were sleeping.
Can't you read the name, dear?
Huh?
It's the Viking Second.
The Viking
Yes.
Wasn't that the Holloway's yacht? The one that never came back?
That's what Mr. Smith said.
Either Mr. Smith is a fantastic liar or something very fantastic is happening to us.
Perhaps the Holloways have finally come back.
After 7 years?
It doesn't make sense, none of it.
Yeah, that's putting it mildly.
Darling, we ought to take a close look at the boat.
You don't sound very enthusiastic about it, but yes, I suppose we ought to. Whoever's on it might be able to tell us something.
The tank is down. Somebody must have come off the boat.
They couldn't have, dear. At least they didn't come up to the house.
Well, let's go up and see.
All right.
There's no one on deck.
Anyone here? No answer. Maybe they're down below.
They must be.
I'd rather not go down there.
Oh, we've got to find out. Let's both go down together.
All right, you keep right behind me.
Oh, don't worry, dear. I will.
Here's the stateroom.
Oh, there's nobody here either.
Anybody here?
No one. At least...
Yeah, but the beds are still warm. Somebody just left the stateroom a little while ago.
It seems so.
Let's get out of here, Eva. I've got a peculiar feeling down my spine.
It is chilly. We'd better go back to the house.
The lights are on in the living room. Did you put them on?
Just one of the lamps, a floor lamp.
Well, all the ceiling lights are lit.
I can see that, dear. Let's go in.
Here. The door's locked. We didn't even close it when we went out.
No. I remember we left it up.
Good evening.
Who are you?
I beg your pardon.
I said, who are you?
I'm John Gabriel, butler to the Holloways.
Gabriel?
That's right, ma'am. Whom do you wish to see?
We don't want to see anyone. We live here.
I'm afraid you're mistaken, sir. The Holloways live here, have been living here for years.
But this is our house. We bought it.
And the Holloways are dead.
Dead?
Yes.
I'm afraid someone has misinformed you.
This is like a nightmare. Look here, Gabriel, or whoever you really are. We bought this house from Cecil Smith, a real estate agent in Westfield. He's not the kind of a man who plays practical jokes.
No, he's not. He's a very sober man indeed.
He told us you were dead, too.
As you can see, madam, I'm very much alive.
Oh, this is crazy. We'd better talk to the people who call themselves the Holloways.
Perhaps you should. They'll be in any minute. Please come in, won't you? Will you excuse me if I close the windows? We're going to have a storm.
Perfectly all right.
Would you care for some tea?
Look here, Gabriel. We've been waiting an hour for Mr. Holloway and his wife. They haven't shown up, and I don't think they will. Now, just what is your game?
Would you care for some tea, Mrs. Jordan?
No, thank you.
Did you hear what I said?
Yes, sir, I did. As soon as Mr. and Mrs. Holloway arrive, I'm sure you'll be convinced of your error. They should be here any minute since they plan to leave tonight on a cruise.
This is mad. Fantastic.
They've come.
Just missed the storm, Gabriel. Oh, hello. I don't believe I know you.
This is Mr. and Mrs. Jordan, Mr. and Mrs. Holloway.
Oh, I'm glad to meet you, Mrs. Jordan. Mr. Jordan.
Well, thank you. Are you Richard Holloway?
Yes.
I can't believe it.
It's all terribly confusing, Mr. Holloway. These people claim that this is their house.
What?
That they bought it from Cecil Smith. They also claim that you, Mrs. Holloway, and myself are dead.
Somebody's playing some kind of a joke on them.
Well, I'd say it was a very unpleasant joke, Dick. We've been living here for years and years, Mr. and Mrs. Jordan.
Oh, before I forget, Gabriel, get our suitcases aboard the yacht, will you? We'll be leaving in a few minutes.
Yes, sir, right away.
Fred, do you suppose that maybe we're dreaming this?
Well, if we are, we're dreaming it together.
I'm sorry. I don't know how this happened to you. Perhaps you'd better stay here for the night. There's plenty of room.
And we're delighted to have you.
Would you mind if I called Mr. Smith?
Oh, please do. The phone's right there on the table.
I know, thanks. Operator, let me have Westfield 403. Never. Hello, Mr. Smith?
That's right.
This is Mr. Jordan.
Who?
Fred Jordan. Remember, you sold me the Holloway house?
The Holloway house?
Yes.
You must be mistaken. I never sold it. That property's not for sale.
What are you talking about?
Who is this?
Listen, Mr. Smith, you know very well who I am. You won't get away with this. I'll have you brought into court now.
I never heard of you in my life. You must be crazy. Goodbye.
Hello. He hung up.
What did he say?
Well, he said he never sold the house and he'd never even heard of me.
You must have been taken in by someone who posed as Mrs. Smith.
That's really a shame. You have to be very careful these days.
We'd be glad to have you stay here until you find other quarters.
Well,
As a matter of fact, you can stay for a few days until we get back. We're taking a trip on our boat.
Perhaps you'll be able to get it all straightened out in the morning. I just don't understand it. The Mr. Smith we had dealings with wasn't a crook. I know he wasn't.
Well, that was my feeling, too, but
You're not going out to sea in this kind of weather.
Oh, we don't mind a little rain.
My husband's a very good sailor, Mrs. Jordan. He can handle the Viking second in any kind of weather. It sounds like a gale coming up.
Well, we like them. Exciting.
Well, it's dangerous to set out in this weather. It's very dangerous.
Oh, now, don't worry about us. We don't drown easily.
Oh, darling, we'd better get started.
Oh, yes. I'm all set.
Are the suitcases aboard?
Yes, Gabriel took them.
Something's wrong with your grandfather clock. It only struck 8 times.
Yes, it's correct. Now, my watch says 8 o'clock, too.
Well, how can that be? It's after midnight.
You really are mixed up, Mr. Jordan. It's only 8 o'clock.
Well, my watch says 1:30.
Well, so does mine.
I'm afraid ours is right, Mrs. Jordan. It's very old, but very accurate.
Of course, there's a legend about it. The story is that it will sometimes go backwards in time.
Has that ever happened?
No, it's only a story. It's never gone anything but forward, like any other clock. But it's a nice story, isn't it?
Yes, delightful.
Might even be true.
Mrs. Holloway. Yes? What is today's date? What? I believe it's September 10th. What year? 1939, of course.
1939?
Yes, of course, Fred. Mrs. Holloway, I'd like to ask you and Mr. Holloway something.
Yes?
Please, don't go out on this trip you're planning.
Why not?
Because if you do, I don't think you'll ever come back. What a terrible thing to say. Please, Mrs. Holloway, please.
I don't know what's wrong with you two. You came in here with a strange story about owning my house, and now you tell us we're never going to come back.
She's right. You won't come back.
You'll pardon me for saying so, Mr. Jordan, but I think you're both crazy.
I don't care what you think, but please don't go. Why, Mrs. Jordan? I have a hunch about it.
We don't believe in hunches.
Well, it's more than a hunch, Mr. Holloway. I know you're not coming back.
If you'll excuse us, I think we'd better get started. Come along, darling.
I'm ready.
I've put everything on board. Is there anything else, sir?
Yes, just take care of our guests. See that they're comfortable. Goodbye, Gabriel.
Goodbye. A pleasant voyage.
Make yourself at home, and we'll be back, despite your hunches. Oh, you must go, please.
Well, they've gone.
If you wish, you can occupy the master bedroom. I'll go up and make it ready for you. Was there anything else you wished, Mr. Jordan? Ma'am?
No, Gabriel. Just go to bed. We'll sit here for a while.
It's rather late, sir. Nearly midnight.
By your clock, Gabriel, but it seems to have stopped.
So it has. It needs rewinding.
It's going now.
Yes. Seems to be ticking rather fast.
Something's wrong. It never did that before.
Fred.
Something's happening.
Switch them on, Fred.
As soon as I find the switch.
What happened?
I don't know. Maybe a storm, lightning.
Where's Gabriel?
Oh. Gabriel. Gabriel.
Never mind, dear. Can't you find the switch?
Here it is. Oh.
Fred.
All that dust. Like the first time we saw the house.
It's as if no one had been here for years. Where's Gabriel?
There is no Gabriel. We're back in 1946. And that means he's dead.
You mean the clock did go backwards?
Something else. You understand, too, now, don't you? We were the friends that Mr. Smith told us about. The mysterious friends that urged the Holloways not to go on that trip.
Yes. Fred.
What?
The clock has stopped.
Well, it needs rewinding.
No, don't touch it. We won't wind that clock again. Ever.
A house without tenants, except for the dead, and a clock that runs backward in time. If it was your clock, would you wind it? Or are you afraid it would keep you up nights while you waited for it to strike 12 for...
Murder at midnight.
Remember to be with us again when death comes out of the past, out of time gone by, and the clocks strike 12 for...
Murder at midnight.
The Jordans, husband and wife, were played by Vinton Hayworth and Elsie Hitz. With music by Bert Berman, Murder at Midnight was directed by Anton M. Leader.
This, I believe. Wilfred Pickles was born a Yorkshireman. His father was a builder, and the family wanted Pickles to carry on the trade. But he became interested in radio. Today his voice on the BBC is familiar not only to Britons, but to listeners in many other parts of the world, and by the way of many kinds of programs. He began broadcasting in 1939 as an announcer. The news was somewhat heavy that year, and so he became a commentator. He has acted, written books, read poetry, and more lately turned comedian. But he has some serious comments on his personal beliefs.
I am a broadcaster for the BBC. I bring to the microphone the ordinary folks. I present the people to the people. And since my program gives me the chance to drop in on so many parts of our islands and mix with the people, I have come to believe resolutely that the everyday behavior of the men and women who rarely, if ever, make the headline news has a marked influence on national and world affairs. It's a steady, unspectacular process. It's the patient, plodding service to family and society given by millions of the sort of folk you would never turn to look at in the street. These are the kind of people I meet. We get war talk, bomb talk, and military conscription over much of the civilized world, and we have the agitators who seem to be able to find expression only in urging strikes, and the warmongers, criminals, and those battening characters of our new age, the spivs. All this is bad enough, but what is worse, it is big news. We may as well stop trying. Not on your life. Civilization has never been without a motive for carrying on campaign, pestilence, war, or mass injustice. There are the little people with simple hopes, fears, and those embarrassing moments that involve white lies and broken suspenders and unexpected visitors. These are the people on whom my faith depends. Then there are the scientists. Some may work on the atomic bomb, but others burn the midnight current on atomic energy research in a drive to enrich humanity. And who would dare say that pilots prefer to drop bombs than to hasten supplies to beleaguered settlements, flooded villages, and stranded explorers? What about the voices on the air, too? Misused they may have been in war and by some in peace, but they are taking education to the fireside, fun to the blind and the crippled. They throw a thousands of miles-long lifeline to sailors and airmen, and inexorably contribute to world understanding. If only we would take the spotlight off the horrors and shortcomings for a moment, and glorify the people who remind us that there is nobility in the human race. If only we could be reminded oftener that we have men and women in Britain daily risking their health, their lives, in research into diseases, cancer, tuberculosis, rheumatic fever. I give my faith a jog sometimes by thinking of the men and women who man the hundreds of orphanages all over this country, places where no child is ever refused a home and where the love is often greater than a mother's. In the common people, I find those clear aims and ideals that are denied to our muddled geniuses whose vision has been misted by theories. I like to listen to Francis Thompson. Go, songs, and come not back from your far way. And if men ask you, why ye smile and sorrow, tell them ye grieve, for your hearts know today. Tell them ye smile, for your eyes know tomorrow. The people are tomorrow.
That was Wilfred Pickles, an entertainer, actor, and writer for the British Broadcasting Corporation. A warm-hearted Yorkshireman with a belief in plain people.
What's the matter? What is it?
Another case for Nick Carter, Master Detective.
Yes, it's another case for that most famous of all manhunters, the detective whose ability at solving crime is unequaled in the history of detective fiction. Nick Carter, Master Detective. Tonight's curious adventure...
Death After Dark. For Nick Carter and the mystery of the vampire killings.
Mr. Carter! Mr. Carter! I've got to talk to you. Something has happened.
To you?
Well, yes. No. Well, that is, it did and it didn't.
Well, it might be better if you were to tell me just what it was that did or didn't happen to you.
Okay. Well, it was like this, sir. 4 of us, Betty Graham, Gertrude Chase, Dora Mason, and myself were playing tennis in the park this afternoon. We played a few sets, and then about 6:30 we started home. But just as we got to the park gate, Dora suddenly discovered that she'd left her racket in the court. I offered to go get it for her, but she started after it herself. The rest of us sat down on the bench to wait for her. After about 10 minutes, Gertrude suddenly got up, said something about going to meet Dora, and then started up the same path as Dora had done. Betty and I sat on the bench talking and waiting for them, until suddenly we began to realize it was getting quite dark. All at once, Betty said what was on my mind.
I don't like this, Phil. The tennis court is only about 5 minutes' walk from here. They should have been back before this.
Yes, I know. I was thinking the same thing.
What do you suppose could be keeping them?
I don't know.
Don't you think we'd better walk up that way and see what's happened to them?
Nothing's happened to them, Betty. But if you want to walk up and meet them, why, okay.
Well, I'd rather do that than keep sitting here.
Oh, come on, then. But I'll bet we meet them before we get to the court.
But I judge from the way you tell it that you didn't find them.
No, Mr. Carter, we didn't. When we got to the court, it was deserted. We called and called, but we got no answer. Then suddenly Betty saw something.
Phil, look.
What is it, Betty?
Look, there on the grass behind you.
That's Dora's tennis racket. I know those colored strings. But that means that she never came back here at all.
But where could she have...
Betty, didn't Dora have a rose in her hair?
Why, yes. She picked it up in the path just before she left us. I remember watching her tie a knot in the stem so she could put one of her hairpins through it to hold it in her hair. Why?
Here, by the end of the net. A rose.
You're right. And it's got a knot in the stem, too.
And look, Betty, it's been stepped on.
Phil, I'm afraid. Let's get out of here. Something happened. I'm afraid.
And she started running across the grass toward the nearest gate.
Weren't you scared, too?
Well, yes, some. But I caught up with her and quieted her down a little.
And you didn't see anything of the girls you were looking for?
Well, by this time it was too dark to see much of anything. Betty took me by the arm and we made for the nearest gate. We weren't running, but we weren't lingering either.
Well, maybe you just imagined...
Wait a minute, I just haven't finished. Before we got to the road leading to the gate, we had to go through a patch of thick woods. I'd gone that way before, so I didn't think much about it. But Betty was still pretty scared.
It's dark here, Phil. I can hardly see anything. Let's hurry. I want to get out of here.
If we try to go any faster, we may fall over something. Just take it easy and keep going, and we'll...
Well, Phil, what did happen?
That's just the point, Nick. I don't know. When I regained consciousness, a couple of minutes later, one of the park guards was bending over me, and another was trying to bring Betty back to her senses.
And you have no idea what actually did happen?
No, Nick. No idea at all. Except that a lot of creatures seemed to drop down on us from out of the trees.
You say creatures. Why do you use that word?
Why, that word seems just to be about the only word to use.
You couldn't see them at all?
No. It was so dark. I could only see that there were a lot of dark forms around me. The thought flashed through my mind that we'd been attacked by a band of boy robbers.
And they didn't say anything? No exclamations or anything?
No, Nick. Nothing. Not a word. The only sounds I remember are a sort of hissing. It sounded like a lot of snakes. Then I got a blow on the back of my neck and it knocked me senseless.
What happened to Betty?
She'd been doped. She said something had been put over her nose. Something that felt like a piece of burlap and smelled sweet. Then she lost consciousness. After the guards brought her to, I took her home and left her there. As far as I know, she was unharmed, except that, she was almost hysterical.
What about the other girls, the ones who played tennis with you? Did they turn up later?
No. I called both of them on the phone, but neither of them were home. And they hadn't been home since they were out with us.
And our first job was to tell the girls' parents what we can and get their permission to take charge of the investigation. Then we'll start our investigating in the park.
Everything here looks so different at night, Mr. Carter.
I'd much rather not have to make this examination by night, Phil. But I don't dare wait until morning. Might be too late.
There's the tennis court right ahead, Mr. Carter. And here's the tennis racket, right where we left it.
Don't go any further. I want to see what I can find on the ground in the way of marks or prints. Yeah? Yes. Pretty obvious that a number of barefooted persons have been tramping on the grass here.
Barefooted?
Yes. I found one pretty clear impression of a complete foot. Looks about the size of a 10-year-old boy. Yes, there are lots of prints here.
Well, do you think they could be the prints of...
Come here.
What is it? Have you found...
Now, take it easy, Bill. Take it easy. Look here.
Dora Mason. Is she...
Yes, Bill. She's dead.
Poor Dora. Why, she almost looks as if she were asleep, doesn't she?
Yes. Except for that peculiar alabaster whiteness of her skin. Almost as if there wasn't a drop of blood left in her body.
How was she killed, Mr. Carter?
I don't know. The only mark I can find on her is a tiny round hole in her neck. A couple of inches below her ear. Well, it's pretty late, but I guess he'll forgive us when he knows why we've come.
He may be in bed by now.
I'm sorry if he is, but I can't let it go until tomorrow. I must find out tonight.
Yeah? Oh, hello, Phil. What's up?
This is Mr. Carter, Ed. He wants to hear the story about you and Ethel, how you were attacked in the park last week.
Are you trying to kid me?
No, Ed, we're quite serious. Phil and the girl who was with him were attacked in the same way this evening. The girl was killed.
What? Who was she?
Dora Mason.
Dora? Gee, that's tough. Well, come in, won't you?
Sure. Ed, we're afraid Gertrude Chase has been killed, too.
Hey, what is this, a gang war?
Did you think it was gangsters who attacked you, Ed?
Wait, no, I didn't know what they were. They might have been small men or they might have been boys.
How many were there?
I should say maybe a dozen. I don't know. I couldn't see them. They seemed to drop down out of the trees. They were so quiet I thought maybe they weren't human.
Not human? How do you mean?
The only noise I heard was a sort of hissing.
Hissing? When you were fighting them, did you hit any of them?
Sure, lots of them.
What did they feel like?
They were small, not very strong. And they weren't dressed in regular clothes. I don't know what they had on, but it wasn't our kind of clothes.
What did they do to you?
They swarmed all over us. We both yelled for help, and then they put a piece of burlap over my face, which covered my eyes and nose. It smelled funny, made me dizzy. Then they knocked me out.
How about the girl?
Grabbed hold of her and put the same kind of cloth over her face. She said hers had a strange odor, sort of like oranges. It made her unconscious. But it didn't last long. Some park guards heard us, and the things disappeared as they came up.
Were either of you hurt?
I wasn't, but Ethel, the girl who was with me, was wounded in the throat.
Hear that, Mr. Carter?
Easy, Phil, easy. Ed, what was the wound?
It was a little hole in her neck, about 2.5 inches below her ear. And this is the thing that wounded her.
Good boy, Ed. Now we're getting somewhere. May I keep this?
Well, of course, Mr. Carter. Does it help you?
It does indeed. This is our first real step forward.
And you say that Moran still had the thing that made the hole in her neck?
Yes, Patsy. It was a wicked little instrument. Scubby took it up to one of the medical supply houses to see if they could tell us anything about it.
Well, what does it look like, Nick?
Well, it's about 3.5 inches long, I should say.
Mm-hmm.
About half that distance. It's the size of a lead pencil. Then it tapers down to a needle point. Mm-hmm. But just before you reach the point, there's a small swelling, like a little bulb, about 1/4 inch long.
Well, what's the idea of that?
Well, if I'm not mistaken, once the point of this instrument has been stuck in the flesh, the little bulb holds it there so it won't come loose. You know, something like the barb in a spear. In fact, that's how Moran happened to have this one. After he and his girlfriend had been attacked by these things, they found this still hanging in the flesh of her neck.
Oh.
Through the center of this needle is a hole. It's about the size of a hair at one end and slightly larger at the other.
Well, what is this gadget used for, Nick? Injecting something into the blood?
No, Patsy, I don't think so. I feel sure it was used for taking something out.
Oh? Well, did you say that early this morning the police found the body of the other girl who was with Phil yesterday?
Yes, I know. And she died exactly the same way Dora did. Patsy, the thing that puzzles me about this whole thing is this. The killers don't act like human beings, and yet they must be.
Nick, this couldn't be a sort of repetition of Edgar Allan Poe's story, Murders in the Rue Morgue, could it?
No, Patsy. There are no monkeys or apes in this. The killers must be human beings.
Unless...
Unless what, Patsy?
Well, there's one very obvious idea suggested by the fact that each body had a hole in the throat and that each body was practically drained of blood.
That's true. Particularly as there was no blood found on the ground near the bodies.
That's just what I mean. It certainly suggests... I mean, you can't help thinking of... Well...
Vampires? Isn't that what you mean?
Well, yes. Of course I don't...
Patsy, what is a vampire? Actually.
Why, it's a sort of huge bat which kills its victims by sucking the blood from their throats.
Mm-hmm. Have they ever been known to attack men?
Why, I don't think so, except in stories.
Could a bat leave footprints like a 10-year-old boy?
Of course not. Bats have claws.
Well?
I know it's silly, Nick. I don't believe in them. I know there are no such things. It's just that...
I know, Patsy. It's just that it looks so very much like what we've heard about vampires that it's an easy, if impossible, solution.
But, Nick, these girls were murdered, so there must be an answer.
Of course, Patsy, of course. But I refuse to believe in the supernatural. I feel sure that the answer must be that somewhere there exists a sect or creed that uses human blood in its rituals, religious or otherwise.
You think the blood is the answer, not the killings?
I do. I feel certain, Patsy, that these girls were not, in the strict sense of the word, murdered.
Not murdered?
No, Patsy. They died because, for some reason, the blood was drawn out of their bodies.
Is this the patch of woods where Phil Morgan and his girlfriend were attacked last night, Nick?
Yes, Scotty. And I think this is probably the best place for the test.
Well, gee, this is dangerous business, Nick. Letting yourself be used as bait for these creatures. Suppose they get the best of you.
Well, that's a chance I'm taking, Scotty. I had a long talk with my friend Ray Shipman Anders yesterday. Yeah. You know, he's an explorer and scientist who's been all over the world. Probably knows more about the peoples of the earth than anyone else. But he can't tell me the answer to this puzzle. He agrees with me that I'm on the right track.
Oh, I don't like it, Nick. Even if these are human beings, they can still be fiends. Oh, but if you say you're going to do it, I know better than to waste my breath arguing with you.
Thanks, Scotty. Now, if you'll help me get ready for the test.
Oh, sure. Sure, what do I do?
Well, first I'll set this camp chair up here in the center of this little space under the trees.
Yeah?
Now, I'll hold the lights while you sort out those ropes you have there.
Yeah.
You'll find there are 12 lassos. I want you to lay them on the ground around this camp chair so that the whole space is covered with them.
Oh, you mean so that nobody can come near the chair without stepping in one of the lassos? Oh, I get you. There. Like this?
That's right, Scotty.
Yeah.
Then bring the free end of each rope here to the chair.
Okay.
I'll tie them together and then tie them to my wrist. And I can tighten them all at once with one pull when the time comes.
Hey, this is quite a stunt, Nick.
Well, from what the young people told me, these creatures are weak enough so I should be able to hold several of them without difficulty.
There we are. That what you want, Nick?
Yes, that's fine, Scotty. Now, I'll sit in the chair, hold the ends of the ropes tight. There. Now, if you'll take this bag of cornmeal,
yeah,
sprinkle it all around this space, over the ropes and everything. Then I'll be all set.
Okay, Nick. Hey, what's this cornmeal for?
I hope to get some footprints. And it may also serve as a trail that we can follow afterwards.
Oh, I wish I were sure you were going to be safe. I don't like this whole business.
Well, neither do I. But it has to be done. This is the only way I can see to do it.
There. Had enough cornmeal spread around, Nick?
Yeah. Fine, Scubby. All right. I'm all set.
Now remember, Nick, I'm going to be just outside the woods with a couple of Riley's men. One shout out of you and we'll come a-running.
Fine, Scubby. I hope I won't need you, but I'm glad to know you're there. Well, so long for now.
Oh, so long, Nick. I hope you come out of this okay.
I will, don't worry. Wish I felt as sure of that as I sound. come on. If you're coming. Let's get this over with.
But what really did happen?
Well, after Scubby left me, I waited a while. Nothing happened. I waited some more. Still nothing happened.
Mm-hmm.
Then I heard some funny noises overhead. Suddenly a swarm of somethings dropped on top of me out of the trees. I tried to fight them off, but in spite of the fact that they were weak, there were so many of them I could scarcely move. Tried to catch one of them, but I couldn't seem to get my hands on anything.
Gosh, what a feeling that must have been.
Yes, I should say so. And I felt a piece of that burlap over my face and smelled a strange, sickish sweet odor like oranges. I felt dizzy almost at once. And something hit me in the back of the neck, and that's all I know.
Did you see anything, Scubby?
No, Patsy. After I left Nick, I waited for a few minutes, and then I heard those queer noises. So I dashed in to find out what was going on.
What did you find?
Well, Nick was flat on his back, a burlap over his face, footprints all over the cornmeal, and nothing else in sight.
Did you try to follow any of the prints?
Oh, no, they were all over the place. They seemed to go in all directions. Would have been hopeless to try to follow them.
So that the net result of the evening's expedition was just exactly nothing. A fine thing. Nicholas Carter's office. Oh, yes, Lieutenant. What? How long ago? All right, I'll tell him. Yes, thanks. Goodbye.
Who was it, Patsy?
That was Lieutenant Riley, Nick. He said that they just found a third girl in the park, murdered in the same way as the others. The same hole in the side of the neck and no blood left in the body.
Now I know I'm right. These creatures don't want any blood except from women or girls. They won't touch men. That's why they did nothing to me after getting me completely at their mercy last night. Well, I'll try it again tonight. But with a different setup.
How different, Nick?
I'll dress myself as a woman.
Oh, that's silly, Nick. If they want women's blood, they'll know fast enough you're no woman.
And besides, there's another reason why you shouldn't do it yourself.
What's that?
Well, you acted as your own decoy last night. You were so busy defending yourself that you didn't have a chance to do anything about catching one of them.
Yes, I know that's true. But there's no other way to do it, Scubby.
There is one other way, Nick. A much better way.
What's that, Patsy?
Use me for bait.
Nothing doing, Patsy. You think I'm going to risk your life?
Well, you risk your own life. I'm no better than you are.
Well, that's different. No, Patsy, I won't let you, and that's final.
It's not final, Nick. 3 girls have been killed already, and 2 others attacked. If I can help put an end to these killings by serving as bait for these awful things, I want to do it.
But, Patsy, you...
No, Nick. No buts about it. I want to do it.
Patsy,
Nick, you've just got to say yes. I'm serious. You and Scubby can stand by to protect me, as well as to catch one of these creatures.
Gosh, Nick, looks as if you got yourself a decoy, whether you want it or not.
If the lives of other girls can be saved, it's worthwhile for me to do it.
All right, Patsy. If that's the way you feel about it, I'll use you.
Thanks, Nick. Now, what are the plans?
That's going to require some real thought. So let's put our heads together right now. Any mistake this time would be fatal.
That's the last of the stakes you wanted, Nick.
Good work, Scubby. Now we'll fasten 6 traps to each of the 4 stakes with this heavy wire. That'll keep them from dragging the traps away once they're caught in them.
Won't the traps break their legs, Nick?
No, Patsy, I think not. They're just about strong enough to clamp firmly on their ankles and keep them from getting loose without breaking any bones.
Okay.
And with the 24 traps in a double circle around you, one of them's bound to get something.
How far away are you and Scubby going to be?
Right at the edge of these woods, Patsy, only about 100 feet away.
You don't think our being here will scare them off, do you, Nick?
Well, your being around where I was last night didn't keep them away, did it?
No, it didn't.
You know, I don't think they're afraid of anything. They take what they want when they want it. And I'm going to be close enough so that I can reach Patsy and nothing flat when the time comes.
There. Well, that takes care of all the traps, Nick. Now, anything else?
No, I guess that's all. I will just have to wait.
Nick,
Yes, Patsy?
there's just one thing that scares me a little.
Listen, Patsy, if you'd rather not...
No, Nick, no. Listen, what if one of those things should get that piece of burlap over my face before I could scream and let you know that they're here? How would you know I needed help?
I've already thought of that, Patsy. And here's what I want you to do.
Uh-huh.
As soon as we leave you, start talking quietly to yourself. Recite poems, tell yourself stories, anything you want. But don't stop talking no matter what silly things you may have to say. Then, if for any reason at all we do hear you stop talking, we'll come rushing in after you. And that way, silence will be a signal that can't fail.
Oh, Nick, you're wonderful. I might have known you'd have an answer. I feel better already.
Anything else, Patsy? Anything at all?
No, Nick. I'll be all right. The center of a circle of traps.
I've got one of the watchman's big electric lanterns with me. And the instant we hear you scream or hear you stop talking, we'll turn the light on.
Okay, Nick. You leaving now?
Yes. Yes, we'll be going now. Good luck, Patsy.
So long, kid. Have fun.
So long. And I hope it will be fun.
Better start talking, Patsy.
Okay, Nick. Well, this is it. The sun that brief December day rose cheerless over hills of gray, and darkly circling gave at noon a sadder light than waning moon. Everywhere that Mary went.
Is she wearing that leather collar you got for her, Nick?
Yes. I had it made so it covers her neck, her back, and her chest. I'm sure it's excellent protection. Now I wonder how much longer the poor kid will have to keep this up.
She's been going for almost an hour now. She's recited Paul Revere's Ride 10 times.
Yes. If you don't get some action pretty soon, now I'll begin to...
Come on, Billy. Get the light on here. Hurry up. Hey, you're speaking. They're all men. Let me, Patsy. Hold on, Patsy. Nick, she's down.
Yes, but the little men are leaving. They're running away.
Oh, Patsy. Patsy, how do you feel?
Patsy, get the news. Are you all right, Patsy? You all right?
I think so, Nick. Just dizzy, that's all.
Good. Take care of her, Stubby. We've got two of those creatures in our traps.
Are they dead, Nick? They look so.
No, they're just unconscious. The treatment was too rough for them, maybe.
Oh, what are they? Can you tell?
They look like little men. That's all I can tell now. Some sort of pygmies, obviously. Members of one of the yellow Asiatic races, I should say. Well, Patsy, what you've done is solved the case. How do you feel now?
All right, I guess.
Well, then let's get back to the office. We'll phone my scientist friend to meet us there. Between us, we ought to be able to find out what this is all about.
You feeling all right now, Patsy?
Yes, Gabby. Oh, I still get the shivers when I think of all those little hands clutching me all over.
Mr. Anders and Nick getting anywhere?
I don't know. I've been in the inner office there with those two creatures for almost an hour now.
And Anders talk their language, Patsy?
More or less. Nick says they speak a dialect that is some variation of an East Asiatic tongue. Anders knows one that is close enough so that he can talk to them. So they can talk.
Anytime, except when they're hunting.
Well, Nick, what's it all about?
Did you get anything out of them, Nick?
Well, it turns out that they're not men, but women. Women who belong to some tribe on the outskirts of China. Call themselves Tuks. There are 100 tribes in those deserts we know nothing about. This tribe of Tuk must be one of them.
Oh, did you find out why they killed those girls?
Well, Mr. Anders here knows more about that than I do.
Well, it seems that in the Tuk tribe, according to the tribal laws, when a woman's husband dies, she has to kill herself to provide him with female companionship in whatever heaven he goes to. Now, the only way she can avoid this is to draw the blood from a female animal and sacrifice it to her husband. This he'll accept instead of her. And it must be done within 6 months after his death. But these women, being here in the city, couldn't get any animals, so they had to use these girls instead. As far as they were concerned, it made no difference. Any female animal would do for them. There were several widows in the group, and the end of 6 months' time was drawing near, so they had to work fast. They didn't want to hurt the girls, but they had to have the blood for the sacrifice.
But what are they doing here in this country if they come from somewhere over in East Asia?
They say that John Bailey, an explorer, made up a band of 10 men and 20 women and took them on a world tour, doing their native dances and their native costumes and chanting their weird little songs and rituals while he lectured about them. Since the war started, he's been touring the United States, playing in theaters, nightclubs, anywhere else they could book them. They've been at some nightclub way uptown for the past 2 weeks, they say.
Well, is there any way we can stop any further killings?
Yes, indeed. We'll round them all up and turn them over to the federal authorities for detention until they can be deported back to their own land. They're too dangerous to be allowed to run loose in a civilized country.
Nick and I think we owe you a debt of gratitude, Miss Boyne, for what you've done.
It was nothing. I was glad to do it.
Well, the women and children who want to use the park wouldn't call it nothing, Patsy.
But I didn't do it for them, Nick. I did it for you.
This has been another of the strange adventures of Nick Carter, Master Detective, which are brought to you regularly at the same time by WOR Mutual. What's your story going to be about next week, Nick?
Instead of a preview of next week's story, I want to talk seriously for a moment about a problem that confronts every owner and driver of an automobile today. The gasoline black market. At the present time, there simply is not enough gasoline available to supply the needs of our armed forces and the unlimited wants of civilians as well. Gasoline is more and more necessary in prosecuting this war. Gasoline and its byproducts for every branch of our ever-increasing armed forces must be filled first. And gasoline rationing is the American way of seeing that each of us gets his fair share of that limited supply which remains after war needs have been satisfied. But gasoline rationing can be made to work only if you and I and every one of our fellow Americans follows the rules and plays fair. The rules are very simple and they're very easy. 1, write the license number of your car in ink on each of your gas coupons. 2, never buy gasoline without giving up the proper amount of gas coupons. And 3, never buy or accept gas coupons that are not rightfully yours. The black market on gasoline thrives on people who think it's smart to get more than their fair share, even at the expense of their neighbors. So play fair with your fellow citizens by playing square with gasoline rationing. When you get more than your share, someone else has to go without.
In the strange adventure you have just heard, Nick Carter was impersonated by Lon Clark, Patsy by Helen Choate, Scubby by John Kane. Original music was played by Lou White. The entire production was written and directed by Jock McGregor. Next week at the same time, listen to another curious experience of Nick Carter entitled
Murder Takes Time. Or Nick Carter and the Mystery of the Old Clock.
This story is a copyrighted feature of Street & Smith Publications, Incorporated. The Return of Nick Carter is produced in the studios of WOR and is broadcast over most of these stations every Saturday evening at 7 o'clock Eastern War Time. This is Mutual.
This I believe. Dr. Will Durant, the distinguished American philosopher, was born in North Adams, Massachusetts. He is now engaged in writing the monumental Story of Civilization series in 8 parts. The Renaissance, the 5th volume of this series, was published in 1953. Will Durant took time out from his busy schedule to bring us his creed.
I find in the universe so many forms of order, organization, system, law, and adjustment of means to ends that I believe in a cosmic intelligence, and I conceive God as the life, mind, order, and law of the world. I do not understand my God, and I find in nature and history many instances of apparent evil, disorder, cruelty, and aimlessness. But I realize that I see these with a very limited vision, and that they might appear quite otherwise from a cosmic point of view. How can an infinitesimal part of the universe understand the whole? We are drops of water trying to understand the sea. I believe that I am the product of a natural evolution. The logic of evolution seems to compel determinism, but I cannot overcome my direct consciousness of a limited freedom of will. I believe that if I could see any form of matter from within, as I can see myself through introspection, I should find in all forms of matter something akin to what in ourselves is mind and freedom. I define virtue as any quality that makes for survival. But as the survival of the group is more important than the survival of the average individual, the highest virtues are those that make for group survival: love, sympathy, kindliness, cooperation. If my life lived up to my ideals, I would combine the ethics of Confucius and Christ, the virtues of a developing individual with those of the member of a group. I was a socialist in my youth and sympathized with the Soviet regime until I visited Russia in 1932. What I saw there led me to deprecate the extension of that system to any other land. Experience and history have taught me the instinctive bases and economic necessity of competition and private property. I am not so fanatical a worshipper of liberty as some of my radical or conservative friends. When liberty exceeds intelligence, it begets chaos, which begets dictatorship. We had too much economic liberty in the later 19th century due to our free land and our relative exemption from external danger. We have too much moral liberty today due to increasing wealth and diminishing religious belief. The age of liberty is ending under the pressure of external dangers. The freedom of the part varies with the security of the whole. I do not resent the conflicts and difficulties of life. In my case, they have been far outweighed by good fortune, reasonable health, loyal friends, and a happy family life. I have met so many good people that I have almost lost my faith in the wickedness of mankind. I suspect that when I die, I shall be dead. I would look upon endless existence as a curse, as did the Flying Dutchman and the Wandering Jew. Death is life's greatest invention, perpetually replacing the worn with the new. And after 20 volumes, it will be sweet to sleep.
That was Dr. Will Durant. He holds a place high in the ranks of contemporary thinkers.
Night Beat.
Hi, this is Randy Stone. I cover the night beat for the Chicago Star. Stories start in many different ways. This one began when I bumped into a little old man who claimed he was dead, and proved it.
Night Beat, starring Frank Lovejoy as Randy Stone.
My job is to prowl Chicago at night looking for that ever-loving story that's always out there in the darkness waiting for me. But, like most working stiffs, one day a week, I'm a free man. And this was that day. It was one of those hot spring days that come at you out of nowhere. Hot like only Chicago and one other place can get. I woke up late in the afternoon and went outside for a breath of humidity. I opened my collar and rolled up my sleeves. Man, it was sizzling. There was a little park ahead. I was just going to stretch out on the grass when I saw him. My first thought was, pass the salt tablets quick, the sun's got me and I'm seeing things. But no, he was real, all right. Sitting on a park bench on this boiling day, a fat old guy in a heavy overcoat with muffler, galoshes, and gloves. I went over to him. He looked up and smiled.
Good afternoon to you.
Good afternoon.
Sit down. Sit down. You look tired.
Thank you, yeah.
Nothing is worth getting tired for. Man is here for such a little while.
Yeah. Look, forgive me for bringing this up, but I think it's only fair to tell you, at this moment, the temperature in the city is pretty close to 100 degrees.
Oh, is that so?
Yeah. For 2 cents, I'd trade everything I'm wearing for one heart shafter and Mark's fig leaf.
You are lucky, young man, to feel the good sun. Yes, that is something fine. As for me, I am chilled to the bone.
In that overcoat and that muffler?
Yes.
How could any living thing be cold on a day like this?
I suppose that is just it.
What?
I'm not a living thing. No, I'm afraid I'm quite dead. I think I'll walk around a bit. Goodbye.
Say. I suppose I'm just inquisitive, but you see, that's my business. I'm a newspaper man.
Oh, yes. An honorable profession.
Oh, thank you. Why do you think you're dead?
Think? So you don't believe me either?
Yeah, it's silly, isn't it? When did you die?
The funeral was last week. A very nice funeral. I regret only that there were no plumed horses.
Plumed horses?
In the old country, that was a requirement for the head of a family. But in America, of course, such customs seem foolish.
Yeah, foolish.
You still don't believe me?
Well, let's say that I'm just an old skeptic.
All right, young man. To doubt everything in this life is to miss so much of life's true magnificence. You need a lesson. Come with me.
So I went with him, this strange man so comfortable in an overcoat on this oppressive day. We stopped at the first large office building and went into the lobby. The old man took me to the directory on the wall.
Can you find the name of a doctor?
A doctor? Why do you want a doctor?
You will see.
Yes, there's a Dr. E.M. Herrick, suite 706.
Is he good?
I don't know. He's the only one listed.
He doesn't have to be too good. Come on.
The receptionist in the doctor's suite eyed us quite distastefully, but in a reasonable time we were ushered into Dr. Herrick's presence. He was a nice little fella, but the sight of the old man seemed to confuse him.
Now, just what seems to be the trouble, Mr.
Henry Kazarian.
Yes. Well?
I want you to examine me and tell the newspaperman what you find.
Newspaper man? Well, I'm afraid I don't understand.
And I'm afraid I can't help you, Doc. Why not examine him and let it go then?
Yes, please do.
But what seems to be the trouble with you? What are your symptoms?
My symptoms were discovering the world no longer needed me. That can be very painful.
Oh, but this isn't anything to...
come on, Doc, will you? It's my day off. Let's get it over with.
All right. Now, Mr. Kazarian, take off your overcoat and shirt.
The old guy undressed to the waist. His skin looked yellow and faded, but I figured that could happen to anyone his age. The doctor smiled, fastened his stethoscope to his ears, and began his examination. I put a cigarette in my mouth, but I never lit that cigarette. I was watching the doctor. I was watching the color drain from his face. I was watching his fingers start shaking like he was trying to make 9 the hard way. The doctor touched the stethoscope to a dozen parts of the old man's chest. Now he looked up, and it seemed to me, in those few seconds, he'd aged 10 years.
Mr. Kazarian, I want you to wait in the next room.
What did you find, Doctor? I'm sure the newspaperman would be most interested.
I told you to wait in the next room. Take your coat and shirt. I'll be right with you.
Yes, all right. Thank you very much. Goodbye.
I can't believe it. It's impossible. It's a trick, a hypnotic trick. No, that's not true.
Oh, you're not going to tell me that old man is really...
Not the slightest heartbeat.
What?
No cardiovascular reaction whatsoever. That man is...
Oh, no, this is crazy. Maybe it's your stethoscope. Maybe it's on the bum or something.
No, that's not the answer.
Then what is the answer? Are you trying to tell me that guy is really dead? Let's get him back in here. Let's talk to him.
Yes, by all means. He's gone.
But how?
This door leads into the hall. He's not in the hall. You're not going to print this in the paper, are you?
Print it? How could I? The city editor'd fire me so fast my head would spin. He'd say I was dead drunk. But if you were to confirm...
No.
What?
Never. If you or your editor or anyone else ever calls me about this, I'll swear I never saw you or the old man before in all my life. I have to protect my reputation. You can understand that, can't you?
Understand? At this point, I understand very little, Herr Doctor. After I left the doctor's office, I looked around the building for the old man. He was gone, all right, but his memory lingered on. Who was fooling who? I went into a phone booth and called the medical association to ask about the professional standing of Dr. Herrick. A nasal-voiced young woman informed me that Dr. Herrick was one of the most able physicians in the city, and her manner indicated that I should have had my mouth washed out with soap for even asking. After that, I looked up the name Kazarian in the phone book. It was there, Henry Kazarian, 612 Post Street. I telephoned, but the line was busy, so I hopped into a cab and took a ride out. It was a neat little white bungalow, but all the shades were down. I rang the bell for a long time before the door opened.
Yes? What is?
I'd like to talk to Henry Kazarian.
Who?
Henry Kazarian. Oh, what's wrong?
You have not heard about my Henry.
Hmm?
He is dead.
But, lady...
We buried him 2 days ago.
But that can't be.
Oh, I can't believe it myself. It seemed like I suddenly wake up and there would be Henry saying, "All right, Mama, get up. Get up, you're lazy. I'm not for 3 wives."
He was buried 2 days ago?
Yeah, from Carell's Temple of Rest. A very wonderful service. All that was lacking was the plumed horses.
The plumed horses?
Papa, he would have been so mad if he knew there was no plumed horses.
Yes, he certainly was.
Yeah.
I mean that, Mrs. Kazarian, I'd like to talk to you. May we go inside?
No.
But...
We are in mourning. If you want to know about the funeral, talk to Mr. Carrell.
Yes, I buried Mr. Kazarian. Why do you ask? For the very trivial reason, Mr. Carrell, that I spent the afternoon with him.
I'm a very busy man, Mr. Stone, very busy.
You think I'm crazy, huh? Well, I never saw Kazarian in my life, but here's how he looked to me this afternoon. A short, fat guy, about 65. Looks like he ate too much good food all his life. A mustache that just about drooped down to his chin. You look a little pale, Mr. Carrell.
You saw his picture somewhere?
No! I tell you, he's alive. I even went with him to a doctor.
Oh, really? Well, my goodness. And what did the doctor say?
He,
Yes, Mr. Stone?
All right. Where is he buried?
At a cemetery at the edge of the city. I've got to go there on, another matter, if you care to come along.
Yes, indeed I would, Mr. Carrell. Indeed I would.
Right here, Mr. Stone, this mound. You see, the earth is very fresh and the flowers have hardly wilted.
But listen, Mr. Carrell, it can't be him.
Mr. Stone, the only reason I'm doing this is to avoid any stupid, sensational publicity. Carell's Temple of Rest is one of the most highly respected...
Yes, and Dr. Herrick is one of the most highly respected doctors, and Mrs. Kazarian is a grieving widow. There's got to be a logical answer to this. There's just got to be.
You are listening to Night Beat, starring Frank Lovejoy as Randy Stone.
When the undertaker brought me back to town, I called an insurance clearinghouse to find out if anyone had cashed in a policy on Mr. Kazarian. No, Mr. Kazarian didn't carry any insurance, so that wasn't the answer. I was beginning to get a little panicky. It was after 6 o'clock and I wasn't a bit hungry. I started walking home to see if I could figure out one thing in all that happened that made even a little sense. Best I could come up with was that everybody was right, that Kazarian really was dead. I was, too, and I didn't know it yet. As I laughed a great deal at that, But just the same, I weighed myself on the first penny scale I passed, and I looked at my tongue in the little mirror. I was just a couple of blocks away from home, and I felt somebody tugging at my sleeve.
Mister,
Mm-hmm.
what's the matter? You hot or something?
What are you talking about?
Somebody's following you.
Following me? An old guy wearing an overcoat?
No, a young fella. What? Don't look back yet, but he's wearing a blue sport jacket, and he's built like an aircraft carrier.
How long has he been following me?
For the last few blocks.
All right. Here. Take this and then get lost.
Sure. Thanks, mister. I figured you ought to know.
I kept walking along, and after a while I spotted his reflection. If only 1/4 of those shoulders in that blue sport jacket were really his, I was in trouble. I stopped to light a cigarette. He stopped to tie his shoelace. I wiped the perspiration off my face. He smiled. No, he wasn't following me. It's just my imagination. I turned down a quiet street a few blocks from my rooming house. I looked back. Nobody. I found it was much easier to breathe. And then up ahead of me, somebody was waiting at the corner. Yep, shoulders. He'd circled around the other side of the block. Oh, great. I started walking past him like he wasn't even there.
Mister,
Let
me say it just once.
Sure.
Lay off.
Fine. Goodbye now.
I mean it. Lay off.
Now you've said it twice.
Leave it alone. It's none of your business.
I presume we're both talking about the same thing. The little man who wasn't there, Kazarian. What's the story on this guy? What's the gimmick? How can he be dead and buried?
Mister, I ask you real nice and polite.
Yeah, I know. Emily Post couldn't have done it better. But still, I'm going to find out.
You're not going to find anything. You're not going to find a thing.
After a while, I started climbing out of the fog. And the way I felt, I wanted to climb right back in. All I had to worry about was history's most promising headache. It was after 9 o'clock when I got to my room. I took a couple of aspirins, flopped across the bed, and tried to relax. Only the street lamp kept shining in my eyes. I got up to pull down the shade. Then I saw the gray sedan parked across the street. 3 guys piled out. They started toward the rooming house. And leading the way was my old pal Shoulders, back for an encore. I headed for the back stairs. I went across a couple of backyards, came out on a side street, and now I was starting to get sore. I found a taxi and headed back for Kazarian's house. Taxi let me out about half a block down the street. Kazarian's house was all dark except for a tiny window in back. I went around to the window and looked in. And there was the old man. He was sitting in a leather chair smoking a pipe. I tapped on the window. He turned, recognized me, and smiled. And someone out in front of the house spotted me.
There he is. Where?
I started running toward the backyard. They were right on my tail. I came to a fence. I found the gate. It was locked. Shoulders, who was heading the pack, was the first to reach me.
You just won't stop, will you?
No, I just not. I tore away from him. I ran down the length of the backyard fence, tried to find an opening. The others were coming up fast. I told myself I could never jump over that fence, but with those guys closing in, I was a hard man to convince. And the next thing I knew, I was crouching behind a couple of garbage cans in the alley. And I thought, what a fine way to die, behind a garbage can, my lifeblood draining out on some old melon rinds.
He couldn't have gotten away. He must have.
I told you to stop him. And then the footsteps passed me. My heart decided it was okay to start beating again. And then I went back to the house, and I found the old man's window. It was dark now, like the rest of the house, but the window was open a few inches. I started pushing it up some more.
Who is that?
It's me, Randy Stone. I'm coming in.
Not advise that young man. Really, it is quite foolish.
Yeah, nobody knows that better than I. I'd appreciate it if you didn't call for help.
Why should I?
Where's the light switch? Oh, yeah. I see you're not wearing your overcoat now, nor your gloves. You're not so cold now, huh?
No. Isn't that strange here in the house? I do not feel it nearly so much.
Yeah, that is funny.
Why are you coming toward me like that?
I want to shake your hand, Mr. Kazarian, just a gesture of friendliness.
But somehow you do not look at all friendly.
Your hand.
Surely.
I thought so. It's as warm as mine. Very nice pulse, too. What's the story, Mr. Kazarian?
You are mistaken, young man. I am dead.
How were you able to fool that doctor? Why did the undertaker swear he buried you? Why is your wife in mourning? Why was I slugged?
But these are questions I cannot answer. I'm an old man and I'm very tired. Would you say I was impolite if I asked you to leave?
Sure, I'll leave. Would you say I was impolite if I asked you where I could find the nearest police station? Because that's where I'm going.
You're not going anywhere, Stone.
Papa, I told you to holler for it if he bothered you.
I knew there would be trouble. I just knew it.
Dr. Herrick.
Life is full of trouble. Death is endless peace.
If this gets in the paper, it'll be the end of everything.
Oh, and Mr. Correll of the Temple of Rest. What a spot for a chorus of Auld Lang Syne.
You keep real quiet, Stone.
Oh, that's a deal, Shoulders.
Well, I wish you would all leave. In my lifetime, I saw none of you. Now that I am dead, you crowd around me like vultures.
Yes, Papa, we leave just so you shouldn't get excited. Come, boys.
Well, leave me in peace. Huh? Leave me in peace.
Papa likes to sit by himself sometime. George, you stop looking so tough. Nobody's afraid of you. Peter, why you just stand here and holler? Go to the kitchen, put up hot water for tea.
Yes, Mama.
Mama? Correll, you call her Mama?
Of course, sir.
Go to the kitchen, Peter. All of you. Go. I will explain to the young man.
Perhaps I should do it, Mama.
Mama again, you too, Dr. Herrick?
Yes.
No, I explain, Anna. You only use big doctor words. Nobody understands. All of you, go. I said go to the kitchen. And, George, the bread boxes and baklava you serve with the tea.
Yes, Mama.
Mama.
You, young man, you come in here, into the parlor.
Yes, Mama.
And we will close the door. Now, I will tell you everything.
So they're your sons?
Yeah. Well, fine, boys. So Papa and I, we would have liked at least one girl.
The doctor and the undertaker. Now it begins to make sense, but their names.
For their work, they said they need American names. The whole country to name Caesarea. Young man, that was a name. Meant something.
But here it's got to be Correll and Herrick, Tell me about Papa.
Yeah, excuse me. 1910, Papa, me and the kids, we come to America. Even though an old country, Papa's head of whole Caesarian clan, we come. So kids go to school. Become more than gold herders, rug merchants. And they do. And boys do. But they marry, they drift away. Soon Papa and I are alone. And if the kids come over once every 2 months to see Papa, we think we are lucky. Imagine that, Papa Caesarian head of whole family. And then last week, it started with Papa. I heard alarm clock go off. I got up like I always do, sleepy, thinking, whole country exists for so many thousand years without alarm clock. Why we need, huh? I shut alarm clock. Oh, Papa, where are you? I hurried to the house, and I found him in the kitchen, sitting at table in overcoat. Papa, so here you are. You feel all right.
For a dead man, I feel all right.
For a dead man, you should not talk like that, Papa. You got many years ahead of you.
I got eternity ahead of me. Call my sons. Tell them Papa is dead.
You feel sick, huh? I call Armand. He's a fine doctor.
Oh, woman, listen to me. I am not sick. I am dead. Do not call Armand the fine doctor. Call my son Peter the fine undertaker. Do as I say. Tell them Papa is dead.
Papa, this is nonsense. I've given you a complete examination. You're not dead. You're in perfect health.
You I do not need any more. Peter, you give me a good funeral. I want plumed horses.
Papa, don't talk like that. You don't need any funeral.
What am I to do? Just sit here? A dead man?
Oh, you see, boys, you see how he is.
Sometimes happens in a man of his age. Might be only temporary. I think we should put him in a sanitarium.
No.
Huh?
Are you forgetting Papa is the head of whole family?
Mom, in his present condition.
Also, the old country here in America, everywhere, the Catharians, he's the head. Oh, just think what happened if they heard Papa. I'd gone crazy.
We could keep it quiet, Mama.
No. News get out somewhere. It would be the end of everything.
But, Mama...
wait, Mama's right. I've been thinking of something else.
Yes?
What about us, you and me? We've got our careers to think of.
But I told you, these things are only temporary.
All the more reason for not putting Papa away. If it's only temporary, then why can't we care for him here?
Well, I suppose we could.
Papa? Where are you going?
Where can the dead man go? To walk the street?
Don't let him out. Hubert, do something, Mama.
Papa, I don't think you'd better go out. After all, maybe you really are dead, like you say. And in that case...
Papa, I'll give you a wonderful funeral. You'll see the best in town.
With plumed horses?
Yes, Papa, plumed horses, if you'll only do what we tell you. And stay in the house.
Mama Kazarian didn't have to tell me any more. They humored Papa so that he'd stay in the house, hoping his madness would pass, and his family and the rest of the clan would not be disgraced. But one morning he escaped, and that's when I met him. When he took me to his son, Dr. Herrick, and told him I was a newspaper man, the doc thought everything was about to fall apart, so he went along with Papa's madness. And so did Carell and the others. That's why I was followed. That's why Shoulders slugged me. That's why they all came to my room later to try to talk to me. I promised to keep their confidence, ate some of Mama's cookies, shook hands all around, and left. But as I was walking through the yard toward the street, a window opened.
Young man.
Come
over here. Over to the window.
Oh, Mr. Kazarian. Okay, sure.
You keep your voice down. I don't want them to hear. But you are a nice young man. I feel in you an understanding. That is why I talked to you in the park. That is why I talk to you now.
What do you mean?
They tell you now, how you say I am cracked in the head, insane, because I say I am dead. Maybe so, but let me tell you this. For 22 years, while I was not dead, and while I was sane, I worked 12, 14 hours a day. I never saw the sun. I never had time to think, to remember the old days. Only work and work. Then my boys left me. And even my name they don't want. The name Kazarian. And then Mama and me was left alone. Yeah, that was the way it was when I was sane and alive. So, one morning I wake up and I say, okay, if that is how it is when I'm alive, I no longer wish to be alive. I am dead. Now, my sons come fast, I tell you. They say, no, he is not dead. He is insane. All right, I am too old to argue. But now that I am insane, they no longer lift even this little finger. No work. No worry. And my boys stay with us constantly, like the old days. I snap my fingers and they shiver. Now, today, I think maybe Armand is getting too smart again, so I bring you to his office. Did you see what happens? Did you see what happens?
Well, you old faker.
So, what do you say I should do? Should I call them in and say, okay, I am not dead, I'm alive, and give up everything I got now, so they can say I am sane again? Well, should I, young man? Should I?
Oh, Papa, if you did that would only prove one thing.
And what is that?
Well, if you called them in and told them the truth, you'd be the craziest man alive. listen, a moral, too, huh? All right, I'll give you a moral. All Papa Kazarian wanted was not to be left out in the cold. I guess maybe that's just about what all of us want. To be needed by somebody, to be loved by somebody. And why not? Is that such a big deal? In all this cockeyed, crazy world, what else do any of us ever really have? Except each other. Copy boy. Oh, no, what am I saying? Copy boy. This was my day off. Remember?
Night Beat, a new dramatic series, stars Frank Lovejoy as Randy Stone. Night Beat is written and edited by Larry Marcus and directed by Warren Lewis. Music is by Frank Worth. Papa was played by Ben Wright. Betty Lou Gerson played Mama. Others in tonight's cast were Jeff Corey, Lou Krugman, and Paul Dubois. Frank Lovejoy will next be seen in Milton Sperling's production Rock Bottom, released by Warner Brothers. Listen next week at this same time and every week as Randy Stone searches through the city for the strange stories waiting for him in the darkness. The stories that come out of the shadows to find their way into Night Beat. March is Red Cross Month. One of the most important of the many services performed by the Red Cross is its aid to our armed forces. In this country and overseas, in military hospitals, Red Cross workers, aided by thousands of volunteers, play an increasingly vital part in meeting the needs of the patient. Remember, your contribution to the Red Cross will help the men in whose hands our nation's security may rest. So,
this I believe. Will Thomas was born in Kansas City and traveled over most of the United States before settling in the little town of Westford, Vermont. Along the way, he went to college and did a little of almost everything from prize fighting to newspaper editing. His experiences, for this reason, combine the unique with the universal. This is what they meant to Will Thomas.
In 1946, I decided I did not wish to live in my native land any longer, and that I would take my wife and children to Haiti, where, as Negroes in a Negro Republic, we would be free of racial prejudice, and our opportunities would be limited only by our ability to use them. I do not believe I need detail the reasons behind this unhappy decision, except to say that being considered and treated as an inferior on every level of life can become intolerable, especially when it is by one's race rather than his individual worth or lack of it that he is prejudged and condemned. When I reached this point, I had become an unbeliever in both God and country, for it seemed to me that racial segregation and all that it implied was as rigid on the spiritual as on the temporal plane. And so finally, I made the decision to leave my native land permanently. However, I did not do it. Love of country, I found, can be very deep, very strong. So I thought to make one final try in my motherland for the equality of status which I considered I had been denied, and I chose Vermont for the experiment. I reasoned that because of its great traditions of personal freedom, there was at least a chance that I and my family might find there what we so yearned for, and we did. In the small farming community where we settled, we were accepted on a basis of individuality unqualified by race. However, it is not that which now seems most important to me. It is, rather, that in such a friendly atmosphere, and amid the quiet of a beautiful countryside, it was possible to think calmly, and gradually to gain understandings by which I believe I can live in peace with other men and with myself for the rest of my life. One of these understandings is that unless one seeks sincerely for whatever it is he most wants, he surely will not find it. And that what I really had been seeking most of my life was not what I wanted, but instead was justification for the resentments I felt. This is not to say there was no cause for those resentments, but rather that I had so concentrated upon them that I could not see that the picture was not all bad, that in fact there was considerable good in it. I had condemned my country and my religion because I viewed only what seemed wrong in both. But when I was able to remove the blinds of my own prejudice, it became clear that these failures, these flaws in church and state, were human failures, human flaws, and not mere self-willed bigotry. And that within each there were, and there always had been many, who had worked and fought for what was right. I think the core of my earlier bitterness had been the conviction that I had been denied my birthright of human dignity. But I know now that is something which cannot be given or taken away by man. It has been written that he who seeks shall find, and to him who asks it shall be given. And I can only testify that when I did seek, I did find, and that when I asked, it was given me. And I know that only the God I once denied could bestow such precious gifts.
They're the beliefs of Will Thomas, a newspaperman and author who lives with his wife and 3 children in Westford, Vermont.
The makers of Camel cigarettes present Dick Powell as Richard Diamond, private detective. The proof of cigarette mildness is in the smoking. Steady smoking. Make your own 30-day Camel test, the thorough test of mildness. Smoke only Camels for 30 days. Enjoy Camel's rich, full flavor. See how mild Camels are, how well they agree with your throat, pack after pack, week after week. You'll soon see why, after all the mildness tests, Camel is by far America's most popular cigarette. Here transcribed is Richard Diamond, private detective, starring Dick Powell.
Diamond Detective Agency. Diamond Detective Agency.
Well?
Hi, Helen.
Well?
Well, what?
Where's the slogan?
Diamond Detective Agency is enough. This week I've decided to conduct my business on more of a refined level.
Why?
I need the change. I'm getting tired of defending myself.
You haven't defended yourself since kindergarten.
Are you forgetting the other night in your study?
Rick.
Now, don't give me that sweet innocence. I should have been decorated for that campaign.
Weren't you?
Helen.
Now, you hang up, and I'm going to call you right back.
Hang up?
And when you answer, I expect to hear the old Richard Diamond slogan and all.
Yes, Miss Asher.
Bye.
Oh, women. Slogan. Let's see. Diamond Detective Agency. Gumshoes resold while you wait.
What's the matter with your voice?
This is the old Richard Diamond.
Oh, Rick.
No, make up your mind.
Mr. Diamond?
Hold it, Helen. Something I can do for you?
Me?
No.
Yes, if you're Mr. Diamond.
Client?
I think so, dear. I haven't seen the subpoena yet.
Well, I'll talk to you later. Good luck.
Bye.
Bye.
Well, get it over with. Hire me or serve me.
I beg your pardon?
Just trying to second-guess you. Have a seat.
Thank you. My name is Stevens. Arthur Stevens.
What can I do for you, Mr. Stevens?
A great deal.
I charge a great deal for a great deal.
I'm prepared to pay you handsomely.
How handsomely and for what?
$500 for a quick trip to Florida.
Well, that's easy. Now, what's going to make it tough?
Lucius Timken.
Is that a man?
Yes. He'll try and stop you.
How?
Kill you if necessary.
Well, that statement just cost you another $250.
I anticipated that. $750 then?
What do I have to do?
Pick up something for me.
How old is she?
No,
This is an object, a very rare object.
Blonde or brunette?
This is an antique.
You're turning into a good straight man.
It's a rare European art object worth a considerable fortune. Anything else you'd like to know? The $750 should compensate for your inquisitiveness.
Why can't you just go get it?
Lucius Timken? He anticipates my arrival.
Why did you pick me?
Reputation? I've heard I can trust you.
All right, Mr. Stevens. How much of a down payment will keep you trusting me until I get back?
Let's say $250.
Let's say $350, and we can trust each other.
It's a bargain.
Only if I live long enough to spend it. Stevens gave me some instructions, handed me the cash, and I agreed to meet him at my office early in the morning after I'd returned with the item. He gave me a round-trip ticket to Miami, Florida, a wet handshake, and a smile that reminded me of a man who'd swallowed a mouthful of sour milk. Now, in my business, I expect trouble. I can usually spot it quicker than a lonesome blonde. And as I watched the door close behind Stevens, I spotted it. Trouble all over the place, and Richard Diamond up to his shoulder holster in it. I called Helen, told her I'd ship her back some oranges, went home and packed, and by 2 p.m. was on the plane heading for Miami. Stevens had instructed me to register at the plaza and wait for a man named Shelton, who was supposed to be my contact and deliver the item. I arrived in Miami, took a cab to the hotel, registered, and went up to my room to take a shower and lose some of the stiffness. A half hour later, I went down to the bar to see if I could get some of the stiffness back.
This seat taken?
Not a bed. Climb up.
Thank you. Nice and cool in here.
Yeah? Can I buy you something to go with it?
Thank you. A martini.
A bartender. A martini for the lady. Do you live here at the hotel?
Yes. Do you?
Just moved in.
My name's Albright. Mary Albright.
Richard Diamond.
Hello.
Hello. Staying in Miami long?
Depends on the weather.
Your martini.
Oh, yes. Cheers.
To the weather. Oh, what kind of weather are we drinking to anyway?
Sun, rain, any kind of weather as long as there's something to do.
Then let's drink to something to do.
What do you do, Mr. Diamond?
Oh, start by asking attractive blondes to call me Rick.
All right, Rick. What do you do?
Oh, make a few bucks. Work when I have to. Enjoy a cool drink in a bar with a girl named Mary.
Marion?
Not a bed. Have you made the trip yet?
Once. Didn't like the weather. Why don't you buy me dinner, Rick?
Oh, sorry you said that.
Another date?
Business. Then I've got to get right back to New York.
Well, was a nice idea.
The nicest. Well, I got to be going.
Nice meeting you, Rick.
Goodbye, Mary.
Rick?
Yeah?
What's the weather like in New York?
Cold when I left. If you ever fly up, give me a call.
I'll do that. Maybe we can melt some snow.
She could have melted an ice floe in the Arctic. I left her sitting at the bar looking lonesome and went back up to my room and enjoyed myself by running into the walls until I got tired and lay down to rest. I must have dozed because when I came out of it and looked at my watch, it was nearly 8. My contact was overdue, so I sat up, smoked a Camel, and by 8 I called the desk. Hello, this is Mr. Diamond. Has anybody been asking for me? Are you sure? Okay. Oh, it's about time.
Close the door.
Hey.
Close it.
Look, friend, you better...
Listen. Go to La Granada.
Look, you're hurt.
La Granada.
Hey. Oh, why does everybody pick my room to die in? He was lying on his back with his eyes open and staring up at the ceiling. I rolled him over and wondered how far he'd travel with a bullet hole in his back. He was heavy-set, wearing a navy pea jacket and dungarees. The identification in his wallet showed him to be my contact, George Shelton, and his ship was the Rio Queen. I searched him for something that looked like a rare antique, but the sailor was bare, so I sat down and made up my mind. He'd said something before he died. La Granada. I thought about the rest of the money I was going to be out if I didn't bring the antique back to Stevens and called the police. In 10 minutes, Lieutenant Breek of Miami Homicide was looking at my license.
Richard Diamond.
180, licensed in the state of New York, brown hair, and the loveliest blue eyes.
I can read.
Yeah, but that description doesn't do me justice.
You're a pretty fresh guy.
I was influenced by the Florida propaganda.
Well, you're out of your territory. You don't carry any weight down here.
Maybe if I ate a big dinner.
I think you should know I don't like private cops.
I'm glad I have your confidence.
You say he just staggered in here?
That's right.
Ever see him before?
No.
You weren't expecting him?
No.
You called the desk and wanted to know if anybody had asked for you.
I always do that to get lonesome.
What are you doing in Miami?
Spying. I was hired by California Orange Grower.
You know something?
Occasionally.
I feel like slapping you around.
Well, don't decide on it. I get nasty.
You're in trouble here.
Oh, call Walt Levinson, 5th Precinct Police, New York. He'll give you references.
I'll do that, but I still want to know why this guy picked your room to die in.
All right, I'll tell you. I flew all the way from New York just to confuse you.
Yeah?
Yeah, I haven't killed a man in a hotel room in years. I'm the compulsive type. I just couldn't help it.
I think I'll lock you up.
Well, do that, and I'll be out in an hour. And I'll sue you for so much false arrest, you'll be pounding a beat so far they'll have to pipe orange juice into you.
Look, there's been a murder.
Well, I didn't do it.
The victim died in your room. You'll have to stick around for questioning.
Then question me.
There's plenty of time. You look like the type that breeds trouble.
Yeah, I took it up after I lost my mink business.
I'm going to let you run around for a while. If you're mixed up in this killing, I'll find out about it.
Let me know when you do.
You'll be the first to hear about it.
I watched while the cleanup boys hauled away my dead contact, then I promised Lieutenant Breek I'd meet him at the Miami Homicide Division at 8 o'clock the next morning. They left, and I waited until I was sure they were clear of the hotel, then went out to find something or someone called La Granada. Out on the street, I decided a cab driver was my best bet. I spotted one about halfway down the block and started for it. I never made it.
Hold it. Right there.
Oh, give me one good reason.
This gun in your back?
I'm glad you said that. I was going to be brave.
Don't. Who'd know you were brave if you're dead?
Oh, what do I have to do to stay alive?
Just be good and get into that car.
Okay. Where are we going?
What difference does it make?
Well, I might like to look at the scenery.
Oh, I hate to disappoint you. See, Mr. Diamond? Doesn't make any difference now, does it?
Before we continue with Richard Diamond, here's an important question. Will camels agree with your throat? Here's what noted throat specialists reported in a famous coast-to-coast 30-day camel test. Hundreds of men and women, people in different climates, people with normal throats, smoked only camels for 30 days. The specialists made weekly examinations of their throats, 2,470 examinations in all, and reported not one single case of throat irritation due to smoking camels. Will camels agree with your throat? Make your own 30-day camel test. The sensible, thorough cigarette test. Enjoy Camel's rich, full flavor for 30 days. See how mild Camels are, pack after pack. How well they agree with your throat, week in and week out. You'll make Camels your steady smoke. For mildness, for flavor, for constant smoking enjoyment.
How mild can a cigarette be? Make the Camel 30-day test, and you'll see. Smoke Camels and see.
And now back to Richard Diamond, Private Detective, starring Dick Powell.
He'd sapped me behind the ear with the barrel of his big gun, and I went down like a block of cement in a well. I don't know how long I stayed on the floor of the car, but when I finally pulled myself out of it and shook the cotton out of my head, I found I was in a room sitting in a chair, looking up at the biggest stomach I'd ever seen. Suddenly, over the stomach, a large, round, red face appeared. It smiled, and I tried to return the curtsy.
Feeling better, Mr. Diamond?
Well, I haven't felt.
Martin.
Yes, Mr. Timken.
Get Mr. Diamond a drink.
Right away, Mr. Timken.
Now, let me find my head first. I wouldn't know where to pour it.
I don't generally resort to violence.
But this time you made an exception.
It was necessary. I shouldn't want you to find this place again.
I shouldn't want to. What happens when I leave?
That depends on how much you care to tell me while you're here.
There's your drink.
Thanks. What happened to that big gun, Sonny?
Oh, would you like to see it?
Not especially. Oh, how long did it take you to water this thing?
I'm sorry. I didn't know you were a heavy drinker.
Not heavy, just determined.
Enough levities. Let's get down to business, Mr. Diamond.
What kind of business, Mr. Timken?
Do you know who I am?
I was warned.
Then we understand each other. Where is it?
What?
Oh, don't be absurd. The White Cow.
Have you tried the stockyards?
Do you insist in this humor?
Only if it gets a laugh.
Mr. Diamond, I intend having the White Cow.
Why? Has butter gone up again?
I know Mr. Shelton came to your hotel room earlier this evening.
Yeah. He brought a bullet along with him.
We were able to catch him just after he landed, but he eluded us.
And Sonny tried to slow him up with his .45.
Or shall we say he met with an unfortunate accident? Somewhere between this accident and your hotel room, he deposited the White Cow. Where, Mr. Diamond?
He didn't mention it.
I'll give you $1,000 for the information.
I'd love it, but I don't know what you're talking about.
Oh, come. Martin followed you all the way from New York.
Good for Martin. He should have been a boy ranger.
Look,
Martin, plenty of time for your talents. 2,000, Mr. Diamond.
For 2,000, I'd sell you my grandmother's bridge work, but I don't know what you're talking about.
Well. Martin?
Yes, Mr. Timken?
Go turn on the radio. Get some music.
Yes, Mr. Timken.
Oh, I really don't feel like dancing. I'm still a little dizzy.
3,000. Last offer.
Charming, but I'm at a loss.
Indeed you are. Martin.
Yes, sir.
Sonny gonna get rough?
Where is the White Cow?
Sorry.
Change his mind, Martin.
Certainly.
Now, look,
The White Cow, Mr. Diamond.
I tell you, I don't know where...
The White Cow, Mr. Diamond.
I don't know.
Where is it, funny man?
You can go to...
Where?
No.
Where?
Really, Mr. Diamond, is it worth it?
No. I wish you thought so.
Just tell me where it is.
I don't know.
All right, Martin.
Oh, look.
Maybe he's telling the truth. Maybe Shelton didn't tell him where he put it.
Then he's of no use to us. But then again, maybe Mr. Shelton did tell him. Mr. Diamond. He's an obstinate young man.
Oh, I'll change that.
No, you might kill him. If he does know, he can still lead us. Put him to sleep and deposit him in some alley.
Yes, sir.
It was like taking a ride on a loose rocket. There was a burst of fireworks, and everything seemed to drop out from under me. This time I went up, turning round and round and trying to hang on. Then the lights were gone, and I was sailing through the darkness, wishing I was someone else. Finally, the rocket slowed down and started to fall, and I slipped and went off on my own. Just a poor, tired, beaten-up little private detective looking for someplace to land. When I came out of it, I found myself sitting in an alley. I thought about all my aches and the money Timken had offered me. I pulled myself up and thought about the miserable $7.50 I was getting from Stevens. Then I staggered out in the street and thought about going to some quiet rest home and turning myself in for an idiot. I spotted a cab and hailed it. Take me to the... Oh, good evening, Miss Albright. You don't have an old quart of plasma on you, do you?
What happened?
Oh, nothing in the world. I'll be jumped by 3 saucers.
Let me help you in.
I'm afraid you'll have to.
I was just on my way to the hotel. Go ahead, driver.
Oh, convenience.
I had the driver pull over when I saw you. What in heaven's name happened?
Oh, I was just washing dishes. Honest I was. It's those new garbage disposals.
Well, if you don't want to tell me.
Let's take the swelling out of my head first.
I'll get you right up to your room.
No. Let's use your room. I don't want to explain this to Lieutenant Breek.
Lieutenant Breek?
Narrow-minded cop. Would never believe the story about the disposal.
Put your head on my shoulder.
Which one?
This one.
I mean, which head?
This'll sting a little.
Put it on the numb spots,
I'm sorry.
Well, I'll be right home, Mom.
Oh, you're not hurt that bad, Rick.
Would you be satisfied with, shall we say, a corpse?
You're going to be all right.
Yeah, but I'm going to need nursing.
I'd love it.
Exactly the way I feel.
Going to tell me about it?
I can't.
Secret?
Mm-hmm.
Just what kind of work do you do?
Whatever it is, I'm underpaid.
You must make a lot of enemies.
I try.
Thought you were going back to New York tonight.
I nearly did. In a crate. Hey,
what's the matter?
Have you ever heard of, La Granada?
La Granada? In New York?
No, here in Miami, I think.
No. What is it?
I don't know, but I've got to find it.
You asked anyone?
I've been too occupied.
How about the phone book?
Now, isn't that just like a woman? Always being practical?
Oh, it's just a suggestion.
One that might make me look even more stupid than I am. Have you got a book?
I'll get it. Granada. La Granada. There are 2 of them.
What are they?
Restaurant on Opal and a hardware shop on James.
Well, it's 11:30. I'll try the restaurant first.
Here I go.
Sorry, no. You've got to stick around with the iodine. I might be back for a nightcap. The 2 Granadas in the phone book didn't seem like a place the dear Mr. Shelton would leave an antique, but I went up to my room, put on a clean shirt, and went downstairs to grab a cab. As I started to crawl in, a large arm shoved its way in front of me. Lieutenant Breek was on the other end.
You've been busy.
Idle hands, you know the old saying, Lieutenant.
Where to now?
To blow up the city hall. Want to come along and hold the bomb?
Look, Diamond, I'm keeping score. I've been checking on the guy who died in your room. He got off the Rio Queen all right, but not when he docked. Some guy named Sampson picked him up in a small boat about 5 miles out.
Evidently he didn't like customs.
Evidently. It's an old habit of his, I found out. 2 previous arrests for smuggling.
What does Sampson have to say about it?
Nothing. He's too dead to say anything.
Uh-huh. Well, it's nice talking to you informally like this, Lieutenant. Now give me a parking ticket or let me get in a cab.
Got a date?
Yeah.
You ought to check up on the people you've been keeping company with. Another beating like that and we'll have to put you in brine.
Yeah, think how horrible I'd look. Then you could tell everybody I was your twin. I got out of the cab a half block from the La Granada restaurant and did everything but walk backwards to look like I wasn't going there. I looked the place over and went in. It was just closing, and a little balding man with an accent walked over to me.
I'm sorry, but the kitchen is closed, senor.
That's all right. I'm looking for the White Cow.
Perdone?
The White Cow.
I don't believe...
A man named Shelton left it here for me.
Shelton, White Cow?
Shelton's a seaman off the Rio Queen.
The Rio Queen?
Yeah, he told me he left the White Cow here.
Well, senor, you can look around, but you can bet me we got no White Cow.
It's an antique.
Okay. What?
The White Cow, a very rare antique.
You been in a fight, huh, senor?
Yeah, now.
You got hit on the head pretty hard, huh?
You haven't got it.
Oh, sure.
You have?
Sure. We got a White Cow and a Blue Cow right out in the kitchen. We're going to have both of them for breakfast.
Okay.
Only I don't think I could show them to you. They don't like strangers.
So that took care of the first bet. As I walked out of the restaurant, I made up my mind. If the hardware shop didn't pay off, I was going to get back to New York and hibernate for the winter. The La Granada hardware shop was all the way on the other side of Miami, on a dark street that looked like the inside of a coffin. Evidently, nobody was interested in buying any hardware at midnight because it was closed. I banged on the front door for about 10 minutes, and then, as I was just about to give up, I saw a light, and the door opened a crack.
Yeah?
Shelton sent me.
Beat it. Hey, what do you think you're doing?
Now, listen. A guy named Stevens sent me to meet a guy named Shelton. Shelton was supposed to give me something called the White Cow, but Shelton died.
What?
Yeah, and while he was doing it, he said La Granada. Now, if this is the place, say so. I'm running out of nerves.
Bill's dead?
Oh, you know him.
He's my brother. Shut the door.
You've got the White Cow?
What's your name?
Diamond.
Yeah. Bill said you'd be by.
He led me to the back of the shop, and I watched while he reached into a bin of 10-penny nails. He fished around and pulled out a small, square-shaped object wrapped in oilskin. As he turned to hand it to me, he froze.
Don't move.
Who's this guy?
Oh, his name's Martin. He likes to beat guys up.
I'm not going to beat you up this time, Diamond, but you shouldn't have lied to Mr. Timken. We're going to have to kill you for it.
This is probably the guy who killed your brother.
Yeah.
Give me the package.
Sure.
Toss it. Stay right there.
You killed Bill, huh?
You didn't tell him enough about me, Diamond. Now you're going to get yours, funny man.
Wow. Well, Miss Albright, you do everything well, don't you?
I try. Take the package over here, Rick.
Mr. Diamond.
Oh, now you're mad.
You don't resent it, do you?
No. Take it over here. Thanks.
Oh, now I see. Pick me up in the bar, wait outside that alley. And if you knew I was in that alley, you must know the people who put me there.
Mr. Timken and I are old friends.
He's not going to like you killing Sonny.
Won't make a bit of difference to him.
Oh? You kill him, too?
Yes. This package is worth about $500,000.
An antique?
It's what's in the antique. You buy it in China for about $1,000. You refine it here and sell it for 500 times that much.
The federal government won't like it.
Who's to tell them? Certainly not Stevens. He contracted to smuggle the stuff in. Everybody else is dead.
But me.
Sorry about that. I was beginning to like you.
Oh, but not $500,000 worth.
No.
Drop it, lady.
What?
Don't do it. Looks like Grand Central.
I'm glad nobody locks doors around here. How did you find me?
Told you I was keeping score.
You better get an ambulance, Lieutenant.
Wish you hadn't tried to shoot.
Here. Lean on me, dear. It's the least I can do.
Your gun will probably be the one that killed this Timken guy.
Get the ambulance, will you?
Yeah.
Rick.
Yeah.
Looks like nobody gets anything.
I got $350 in the beating. I guess I come out on top.
Sorry. Won't be able to come to New York.
So am I, Mary. There's going to be a lot of snow this year.
Dick Powell will return in just a minute. A few years ago, 113,597 doctors were asked what cigarette they smoked. The brand named most was Camel. Again and again, a cross-section of America's men of medicine were asked the same question. Every time, the brand named most was Camel. Yes, according to these repeated surveys, more doctors smoke Camels than any other cigarette.
How mild can a cigarette be? Smoke Camels and see.
Here's Dick Powell with a special message.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, nobody deserves our appreciation as much as the hospitalized men and women of our armed forces. As a token of appreciation, the makers of Camels send them gift cigarettes every week of the year. This week's Camels go to Veterans Hospitals, Fort Meade, South Dakota, and Washington, D.C., U.S. Army Station Hospital, Fort Hood, Texas, U.S. Naval Hospital, Yokosuka, Japan. Now until next week, enjoy Camels. I always do.
transcribed adventure of Richard Diamond was written and directed by Blake Edwards with music by Frank Worth. Virginia Gregg played the part of Helen Asher. Others in the cast were Sidney Miller, Ted DeCorsia, Tony Barrett, Alan Reed, Herb Butterfield, and Tony Michaels. Be sure to listen to another great Camel show, Vaughn Monroe and the Camel Caravan, every Saturday night.
Men, pack your pipes with Prince Albert, America's largest selling smoking tobacco. PA's choice tobacco is crimp cut for smooth, even burning, and specially treated to ensure against tongue bite. The bite's out, and the pleasure's in.
The bite is out and the pleasure's in when you smoke Prince Albert. It's specially treated not to bite your tongue. The bite is out and the pleasure's in.
Listen next week for another exciting adventure of Richard Diamond, starring Dick Powell.
This I believe. Dr. Willa B. Player is vice president of Bennett College at Greensboro, North Carolina. She has been with the college since 1930 in a variety of teaching and administrative posts and has held her present office since November 1952. In addition to her professional duties, Dr. Player is active in church youth work and educational planning. This is her creed.
An early experience with a child helped to form my belief. He was requested to leave the classroom. I slammed the door behind him. The child returned to inquire who had shut the door in his face. When no satisfactory word of explanation was given, he simply wheeled around and slammed the door in return. Neither he nor I was happy over the strained relationship which this incident produced. This experience taught me that in a large measure, I myself set the stage for the quality of my relationships, whether they be positive or negative, satisfactory or unsatisfactory, depends on the atmosphere which I help to create. My approaching quarter-century of experience as a teacher has broadened and strengthened this point of view to the extent that it has become one of a set of beliefs which constitute my philosophy of life. The point which I have remembered over the years in my relationship with students is that belief in the dignity of the person extends itself far beyond a passive respect for personality. It reaches to an active concern for creating the type of environment which makes such respect worthy and capable of its fullest and richest attainment. There is an aspect of this belief which is not easily attained without conscious effort, for a teacher is not always willing to take the risks which this type of conduct implies, nor does he always possess the needed patience and generosity of spirit. For when behavior, such as I have indicated, is sought from others, the teacher must exhibit complete faith in the individual's possibility to achieve it, even when the desired behavior is yet only envisioned. I have found that the highest quality of performance may be anticipated from students when I exhibit full confidence in the student's ability to come through once the stage is set. In a larger sense, this expresses a willingness to accord to others that same release of spirit which I desire and seek for myself. I believe that faith in the unfulfilled inspires the best in human endeavor. There have been times when I have been disappointed, but I have never been willing to give up the belief. This is because I feel that disappointments in this regard are due largely to my own failure in providing the proper setting. We often hear it said that we get from an experience just what we put into it. I try to make it a habit never to attend a class session or lead a discussion without first having given careful thought to setting the tone for the good which is sought from the experience. For in the final analysis, my own security in this respect bears a direct relationship to my ability to exhibit the necessary faith in others. The joys one has in life are largely conditioned by his willingness or unwillingness to assume responsibility for bringing them about. And so I strive to be as resourceful as I know how in every human contact, in creating the setting which is most likely to yield a rich and satisfying experience.
They're the beliefs of Dr. Willa B. Player, Vice President of Bennett College at Greensboro, North Carolina.
Mr. District Attorney, starring David Bryan. Mr. District Attorney, champion of the people, defender of truth, guardian of our fundamental rights to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness.
And it shall be my duty as district attorney not only to prosecute to the limit of the law all persons accused of crimes perpetrated within this county, but to defend with equal vigor the rights and privileges of all its citizens. This is David Bryan. In a moment, we'll bring you another case from the files of Mr. District Attorney. But first, a word from our sponsor.
And now, here is our star, David Bryan, as Paul Garrett, Mr. District Attorney.
A district attorney knows that crime has its roots in emotion, and of these, the most deadly is greed. This case started in a large, badly kept junkyard on the outskirts of town near the city dump. The junk dealer and his wife are seated at the dinner table in the ramshackle house, but the man isn't eating. He's reading a newspaper.
Will you stop reading that thing and eat your supper, Nick?
I ain't hungry.
You've had your nose buried in them new car ads ever since you got the check from the salvage company. Fat lot of good it's doing you. We can't buy one.
Well, we could. I didn't have to pay that Mexican for helping me.
Well, you do have to pay him, so stop daydreaming. New car. You ain't never going to do enough work on your own to get anything new, let alone a new car.
If you know what's good for your men, you'll stop picking on me.
You could have taken the pipe and stuff out of those condemned buildings by yourself if you wasn't so lazy.
Are you going to shut up? Or are you looking for a punch in the mouth?
I didn't mean nothing.
All right. Shut your trap and keep it shut. $1,800 for that pipe, and I got to give half of it away.
Well, there ain't nothing you can do about it, Nick. He knows you got the check. He was supposed to be paid as soon as the stuff was weighed out. You can't stall him much longer. He'll be coming over again tonight to ask for it. That'll be him now, Nick.
Yeah. Coming right up to the front porch. Just like he owned the place. Get busy with your dishes. I'll handle him. Well, Morales, what do you want?
Oh, Mr. Howard, I come for my money for the work I do.
I told you I'd bring it to you when it come. I ain't got it yet. I can't give you what I ain't got.
Please, Mr. Howard, I don't like to bother you, but my wife, she's sick. We're going to have another baby.
Well, look, I got troubles of my own, Morales.
Well, I know you got the money, Mr. Howard. I called the salvage company. They say everything is paid.
Oh. So you're checking up on me, are you? Now, look, Morales. I'm going to tell you what it'll do. Here. It's better than you deserve. Here. Here's $50.
For 3 months' work?
Go on, take it, and we'll just call it square. And if you don't like it, you and your family can get out of that shack of mine by morning.
Oh, no, Mr. Howard, you don't cheat me. I want my money. All my money, $900.
You better take this 50 while you can, Morales. Because it's all you're going to get.
Mr. Howard, if you don't pay me now, I go tomorrow to the law.
The law? Why, you no good. Mr. Howard, please. You'll take that 50. You'll sign that paper right now, or I'm going to beat the life out of you.
Nick, what's going on?
Stay out of this, men. Morales and I just made a deal.
In the second drawer on the
No, don't sign no paper, Mr. Albert. No.
Come back here, Morales. Come here.
I go to the law.
You ain't going far.
Nick! Nick, no, not the shotgun!
Yeah, let go of me with it.
Oh! Nick, you're crazy!
Morales! Come back here!
No!
All right, then. You ain't never gonna reach that fence.
Nick, what did you do?
Shut up, dear. Shut up, dear.
Nick? He's dead, Nick. What are you going to do?
Please, shut up! Shut up now. Let me think. I gotta think. Men, we gotta move him someplace away from here. Come on. Help me lift him up. We gotta move him. Come on.
Oh, I can't, Nick. I can't touch him.
Come on. Help me, I said. Keep your mouth shut. Forever. From now on, forever, you keep it shut. Or I'll shut it just like I shut his. Come on. Grab his feet.
Well, there he is, Chief. Department of Sanitation boys found him. They were bulldozing some of those ash heaps to level them out.
It's a good thing they saw him, Harrington. If he ever ran the bulldozer across here, he'd been buried for good.
Yeah. Doc says he's been dead about 40 hours.
You say the Missing Persons Bureau has a report on a man of this description?
Uh-huh. Report was filed yesterday by a Mrs. Morales. Said her husband didn't come home the night before last.
Well, that fits in with the length of time the doc says he's been dead. Now, let's get a better look. Shotgun killing, huh?
Yeah. He got it behind the head and through the back. Heavy charge. Gun was probably 12 gauge.
You know where Morales lived?
Yeah. One of those shacks on the edge of the dump someplace. None of them have any address. But when Mrs. Morales made the missing person report, she said the shack belonged to a junk dealer named Hubbard. Although it beats me how Hubbard owns anything that's standing on city property.
Where is Hubbard's junkyard?
Well, it's way down at the end of the dump. About a mile and a half, that high board fence. Hey, see it?
Yeah.
You'll have to drive around past the gas works to get to it. There's no direct way from here, unless you want to ruin your car.
Yeah, I'll go around. Hubbard may be able to give us some information about Morales. I'll meet you in town when I'm finished.
Okay, Chief.
Yeah, we heard about it maybe an hour ago. Somebody called to tell my husband. Let me turn this washing machine off, will you? So old you can't hear nothing when it's going. Everything we've got is old. Junk my husband picked up someplace.
Well, where is your husband now, Mrs. Hubbard?
Oh, he drove over to the shacks to tell Mrs. Morales and see if maybe there wasn't something he could do for her and the kids. Morales sometimes worked for my husband.
So I understand. Did Morales ever come here? Here to your home, I mean.
Only when he had some business with Nick, my husband.
When was the last time?
Well, I can't say for sure, Mr. Garrett. Like I said, he'd come to see Nick on business.
You'd probably be around when he came, though. When was the last time you saw him?
Well, I can't say for sure. I'm too upset to think. Well, that's Nick's truck coming now. Nick will know. He'll tell you.
Hello. Hello.
Nick, this here man is Mr. Garrett, the district attorney.
Oh. Well, sure glad to know you, Mr. Garrett. Seem like an old friend. I voted for you so often.
Thank you, Mr. Hubbard.
Hey, is your car?
Mm-hmm.
Boy, sure is slick looking. That must ride like a dream.
Nick, Mr. Garrett wants to know something about Morales.
Yeah, I know. Well, I just left his widow. Yeah, this thing's hit her kind of hard. Sure feel awful sorry for her and them kids. And
Just a few things I want to know, Hubbard. When did you see Morales last? Your wife couldn't remember.
Well, you sure are upset, men. Now, you ought to remember Morales stopped by here night before last.
Well, I wasn't sure, miss.
Night before last. What time?
Well, it was just after we finished supper. 8 o'clock, maybe.
Same night he was killed.
Huh? You mean he's been dead that long?
Well, that's what the coroner thinks. You have any reason to think differently?
Well, I mean, he was only found this morning.
He's been missing since the night before last, though. His wife reported that to the police yesterday. You knew that, didn't you?
Well, sure, I knew it, but... Well, I figured he was off celebrating with that roll of money he had.
What roll of money?
Money I paid him for the job we did together.
You mean you paid him when he stopped by here the night before last?
Sure. I handed him $900. Wait a minute.
What, Hubbard?
Something Mrs. Morales told me. Just a while ago when I was over there. Somebody dropped in on Morales the night he disappeared.
Who?
One of the shantytown bums, a guy named Shorty. Morales wasn't there when he came. The Shorty waited around for a while, she said, and then he said he'd walk across the dump toward my place, see if he couldn't meet Morales on the way. You know, you asked me, this Shorty may be the man you're after.
Sounds like a strong possibility, Hubbard. I'm going to see Mrs. Morales and get more information about Shorty, whoever he is. Want to tell me how to get there?
Well, I'll do better than that, Mr. Garrett. I'll drive over with you.
Oh, fine. Let's go. Goodbye, Mrs. Hubbard.
Bye, men. I'll be back later.
Bye.
Okay if we take your car, Mr. Garrett?
Sure.
You know, you jounce around too much in my old truck. It's ought to be a pleasure for me to ride in a new job like yours, eh?
Hop in.
Yeah. Boy. Sure is smooth. I'm going to get me a new car soon. Sure does hum, don't you?
Yeah. Now, which way do I go?
Through the gate and turn left. Sure is a shame about Morales. But I guess you ain't going to have much trouble finding your killer once Mrs. Morales tells you where to look for that fellow Shorty, huh?
It seems like he had a motive, all right.
Sounds like the killer to me. I hope you get him, Mr. Garrett. Morales was a mighty fine worker, mighty fine. Hate to see anybody get away with killing him. Oh, man. Yeah, this is a fine car, ain't it? Hey, just listen to her purr.
This is David Bryan. Before we continue with Mr. District Attorney in the case of the murderous Junkman, here is an important message I'd like you to hear.
And now back to David Bryan, starring as Paul Garrett, Mr. District Attorney.
The body of Juan Morales, a Junkman's helper, had been found in the city dump. The dead man's employer directed me to a threadbare but cleanly scrubbed shack where the widow lived with two wide-eyed kids who clung to their mother's skirt. There was heartbreak in her eyes, but she kept it smothered for the sake of the children, until she sent them out so we could talk.
Go. Lay in the bag. Tipito. Help Rosa find her doll. I try not to cry when they are near me.
Take it easy, Mrs. Morales.
Easy? What is easy? Life is hard for me, for them. And now they have no father to turn to.
Now, everything's going to be all right. I told you can stay on here, rent-free.
We didn't want to stay here. We were going to move away to the apartment house for the new baby that is going to come. As soon as you gave Juan his money, why did you make him wait so long?
Oh, well,
For 3 days. Every day he asks you for his share. And you keep saying that you don't get the check yet.
What is this, Hubbard?
Oh, well, I didn't want to give Juan the money. I wanted to give it to Mrs. Morales here. I asked him to bring her down to the house to collect it. Why?
To make sure it went to her and the kids, that's all.
Mrs. Morales, Herbert says you told him about somebody coming here to borrow money from your husband the night he didn't come home.
The man who works with one at the brickyard one time, 2 years ago. They call him Shorty. His name is Shorty Davis.
Did you tell him that your husband had gone over to Hubbard's?
See? Then he said he would not wait anymore. He would walk across the dump and try to meet Juan. And then he went away.
Where does Shorty live?
I don't know. The shack's up that way.
I'll have my men check them all. They'll get him. I'll see that somebody comes to give you some help, Mrs. Morales. Goodbye for now.
Goodbye.
Come on, Hubbard. I'll drive you home.
Here's the ballistics report on the Morales killing, Mr. Garrett.
Well, thanks, Miss Miller. Any report on Shorty Davis yet?
I don't know, but Harrington's on his way in.
All right. Anything worthwhile in this?
A few things, I think. The shotgun pellets followed a downward trajectory, indicating that the gun was fired from above and behind the victim.
Hi, Chief.
Oh, hello, Harrington. Just got the ballistics report.
Yeah, I know. Morgan handed me a copy when I passed the lab. I read it in the elevator on the way up.
And what about Shorty Davis?
Yeah, we're too late, Chief. Looks like he's making a run.
Why?
Well, we located his shack. A few of the dump tramps said he took off a couple of hours ago with his clothes in a bundle.
You put out an all-points bulletin?
Yeah, gave it to the radio division a half hour ago. He won't run too far if they spot him.
Well, how come?
He's got a bad leg. Broke it in a transit accident on the subway 3 months ago. Got a civil suit pending against the transit company. Supposed to come up in court tomorrow, but he won't be there.
I want that courtroom covered just the same.
Yeah, it will be. But he's the kind that...
I'll get it. District Attorney's office. That's right, Lieutenant. Good, I'll tell him. He'll probably be over right away. Lieutenant Levis from the 9th Precinct. One of his prowl cars just picked up Shorty Davis. They're holding him.
Good. Come on, Harrington. Let's go. Leave us say where they picked him up?
Yes, to the railroad yards. He was trying to get into an empty boxcar on a southbound freight. Not that he had to take a freight train.
What do you mean by that?
Levis says he had a couple $100 in his pocket.
Come on.
All right, Shorty. Just sit down right there, across the table.
Yeah. Hey, look, won't somebody tell me why them cops picked me up? I ain't done nothing.
If you haven't, you've got nothing to worry about. Where are you heading for?
Florida. I got a bad leg. I want to get where it's warm.
Why the rush? You've been around here a couple of months with that bad
Well,
leg.
I couldn't go before. They're rough on tramps down there. I was waiting to get some money.
Well, apparently you got it all right. And we want to know where you got it.
Well, I got it from the subway company. I busted my leg in a subway.
Your suit doesn't come up before the judge until tomorrow morning.
Yeah, well, we settled it out of court yesterday. They give me $300.
It won't take long to find out if you're telling the truth. Who's your lawyer?
Robert Hoxie over on Center Street.
Call him, Harrington.
Right.
Listen, mister, tell me something, will you? Sergeant. What do you think I got the money?
You'll find out later, Shorty. Do you have the whole $300 you claim you settled for?
Yeah. Well, all except a couple of bucks I spent for eating.
What time did you leave your shack this morning?
Oh, left it early. As soon as I knew the bank was open, I could get my money. They give me a check.
And you didn't know that Juan Morales was found dead this morning?
Dead? Morales?
Murdered. He was murdered the night you stopped by his shack to see him.
Oh, I never got to see him that night.
But you did stop by the shack.
Yeah, but he wasn't home. His wife could tell you that. Asked her, huh?
His story about the money is legitimate, Chief.
I know it is. I'm telling you the truth.
And just keep on telling it. Mrs. Morales told you where her husband went that night, didn't she?
Well, just that he was over to Hubbard's junkyard.
Didn't you say you were going down there to meet him?
Yeah, that's right. Well, I wanted to borrow a couple of bucks, see, because one knew me. We worked together once, and we used to borrow, from each other, and I always paid him back.
We're not checking you for a credit rating, Shorty. What we want to know is what happened after you met Morales.
I didn't ever meet him, I told you. I must have waited, half hour maybe. Then I seen the Hubbards come walking through the gate.
Walking?
And you didn't let them know you were there. Why?
Oh, I'll tell you why, mister. I didn't want Hubbard asking me what I was doing on his property at night when he was out.
Yeah? What were you afraid of?
A shotgun, if you want to know. A shotgun. He's a mean guy. You'd ask anybody in Shantytown. He thinks everybody's crooked. He's afraid they'll cart some of that junk off and sell it off to another junkie.
He has a shotgun, huh?
Ooh, you bet he does. He near blasted one of the guys once.
The Hubbards could have been walking back from the dumps, Harrington.
You mean they might have packed Morales' body out there? Why would they kill him?
Hubbard's been stalling Morales on some money he owed him. And his excuse was full of holes. Now I'm going to call Miss Miller. Shorty can repeat what he told us and sign it.
District Attorney's Office.
Garrett, Miss Miller, I want you to take a cab over here to the 9th Precinct. Take a statement from Shorty Davis. Have him sign it.
Is it a confession?
No, he's not the man.
Whoever the man is, I hope you get him soon.
Why? What's the matter?
Mrs. Morales collapsed at the morgue after she identified her husband's body. They had to take her to General Hospital.
How bad is it?
She lost the baby she was carrying, Mr. Garrett.
I'll see you later.
What are you so mad about, Chief?
I don't want to talk about it right now. Listen, Shorty.
Yeah?
How did you get into Hubbard's yard? If you were so afraid of him, you didn't use the gate.
No. There's a couple of loose boards in the fence. You know, a part that runs right alongside the dump?
Thanks. We're going to have a look at that place, Harrington, without being seen.
What's she watering with that hose, Chief? No plants or anything growing there, not even grass.
I know. He's been at it for some time, too.
What's she want a mud puddle in the middle of the yard for? The rest of the place looks like it never got water.
Come on.
You going to let her see us?
I want to find out why she's doing that. Hubbard isn't around. His truck is gone. Good evening, Mrs. Hubbard.
Oh, hello. You frightened me. Excuse me while I turn this off.
I'll get it.
The ground seems kind of dry.
It's wet enough now. At least this one spot is. Wet enough to cover any blood stains that might have seeped into the ground.
Well, I don't understand what you mean.
Don't you? Let's have a good look around here, Harrington.
What are you looking for? Maybe I can help you.
If we find what we want, we won't need your help.
If there was anything, Chief, it's washed away for good. Mud's an inch thick all the way over to that old car cushion on the ground. It's
a car cushion. Look at it, Harrington.
I don't see. Hey, it's riddled with small holes.
The same kind of holes that shotgun pellets might make. The full charge didn't hit Morales. Some of it went past him.
Nick didn't kill Morales. He didn't.
He committed 2 murders if the truth is known, Mrs. Hubbard, because Mrs. Morales just lost the new baby she was expecting.
Oh, no.
Where's the shotgun?
In the house. I'll show you. He started water in there after you brought him back from Morales' shack. Then he told me to do it. Just keep wetting it down good till it was all soaked. The gun is behind that bureau, hanging on nails. He put it there.
Yeah, 12 gauge, all right, Chief.
Maybe I ain't a good wife. Maybe I shouldn't have told you. But I feel better about it now. Some night, maybe I'll sleep again if I live to be old enough.
Where's your husband now, Mrs. Hubbard?
I don't know. He just walked out this afternoon whistling. Whistling like he owned the world.
Chief, there's a car just turned into that gate.
That don't sound like Nick's truck.
It isn't a truck, Mrs. Hubbard. It's a car. A brand new car. Get away from the window, Harrington.
Men! Hey, men! Come out and give your eyes a treat.
Don't answer him.
Men!
Hey, men, why didn't you... Oh. Hello, Mr. Garrett. I forgot something.
Don't move, mister. You know this shotgun is loaded. It's yours.
I told him, Nick. I told him everything.
Are you trying to cheat Morales? Are you shot him in the back?
Shut your crazy
No, you don't. Don't try that again. Now get up.
You finally got a new car, didn't you, Nick? You know where you're going to drive it, don't you? You know where?
Come on, Nick. This time we'll use your car. This is David Bryan again. I hope you've enjoyed this case from the file of Mr. District Attorney. I'll be back in just a moment after this message from our sponsor.
Now, here is the star of Mr. District Attorney, David Bryan, with a word about the program you have just heard.
It took a jury less than 15 minutes to return with a verdict of murder in the first degree against Nick Hubbard. He was subsequently executed. Mrs. Hubbard, an unwilling accessory, was sentenced to prison for a term of 5 years. With the help of civil authorities, Mrs. Morales was able to find and maintain a more suitable home for her minor children. And now this is David Bryan inviting you to join us when we present our next case based on the facts of crime from the file of Mr. District Attorney.
Mr. District Attorney was originated by Phillips H. Lord.